as the elder son, so she chose to let him receive the same educational environment. However, when it came to matters about Aunt Lu, she couldn't ask the elder son, nor did she dare to ask the younger son. At this moment, facing C2U's indifference, she could only clutch her chest in secret, suppressing the anger in her heart. Lin Family Village. With the arrival of the old master and C2U, the filming of the crew proceeded smoothly, and the attention significantly decreased. Soon, the scene of Chun Hong's tragic death under the willow tree was about to be shot. Before filming, Jiang Qianxia tried to persuade Chun Hong to leave, but she insisted on staying on set. Seeing Chun Hong's calm demeanor, Jiang Qianxia no longer stopped her. The old master also arrived with the help of bodyguards. Jiang Qianxia was unaware that he had already recognized Chun Hong's identity, so she did not stop him. However, C2U was coldly rejected by Jiang Qianxia, and the reason was simple: his presence was too conspicuous. In truth, Jiang Qianxia secretly thought to herself that she was about to put on gruesome special effects makeup and didn't want him to see her like that. The originally frustrated C2U was slightly stunned upon hearing her inner thoughts, then obediently left under Jiang Qianxia's puzzled gaze. What she didn't know was that both the old man and Chun Hong seemed to have a hint of teasing in their expressions, which made her feel extremely embarrassed. Fortunately, the preparations for filming were quick, and Jiang Qianxia immediately focused on the shoot, striving to forget her discomfort. With her full concentration, the filming proceeded smoothly, and Chun Hong's death was perfectly portrayed. As the director called cut, the villagers watching on the sidelines unexpectedly began to applaud, creating an unusually lively atmosphere. Jiang Qianxia's performance was stunning, especially Chun Hong's gaze, which made the old man involuntarily recall the dazzling young woman on the streets of Paris 50 years ago. In that instant, the light in his eyes gradually dimmed, as pain and hatred intertwined. The old man's eyes glistened with tears, and the grief nearly rendered his legs powerless. The college students returning to the village beside him immediately stepped forward to support him, angrily shouting, "This is outrageous, disregarding the law and resorting to vigilante justice. The net of justice is vast and tight. These people will surely be brought to justice. This village is practically a murder village." The three of them spoke all at once, their faces showing not a trace of guilt. In fact, they felt a growing disdain for the old man, thinking he was overly sensitive due to his age. In the village, beating someone to death was commonplace. What village hasn't experienced it? However, with the old man present, such thoughts could only be buried deep within their hearts. After all, the old man upheld kindness and integrity, and from now on, they would be the kindest and most upright people in the village. Filming continued, and next up was Chun Hong's remains. The director had not anticipated that he would be digging up real remains. Feeling both fortunate and furious, he was relieved the villagers hadn't noticed, yet enraged by their composure to commit such heinous acts and then forget them so nonchalantly. The director slammed the table in anger, urging the props team with all his might. Originally, Chun Hong had planned to use ghostly energy to accidentally lead the crew to unearth the real remains. Now, with Jiang Qianxia's arrival, things had become much simpler. She only needed to reveal the location of the remains to Jiang Qianxia. To swap out the remains, Jiang Qianxia endured the mocking gazes of the crowd as she went to find Situyu. By the next day, the location of the remains had already been marked. Most of the villagers had been sent out by Situyu to act as guides for the development team. When the real skeleton covered in dirt was unearthed, everyone in the crew was stunned. The props this time are so realistic. The oppressive silence that followed made people uneasy. At first, no one realized the gravity of the situation. They only naturally associated it with the tragic storyline of Chun Hong. It wasn't until the crew dug near the locust tree beside a family's yard that suddenly, an elderly woman with white hair rushed out, holding a hoe in her hand. Her eyes glinted with a sinister ferocity as she swung it wildly, nearly knocking over the crew's camera. "Get out! Who are you? What do you want? Who gave you permission to dig in my yard? Get out! All of you, get out!" The crew was in the middle of filming when an old lady suddenly appeared, startling everyone. The group quickly shielded the equipment and scattered in all directions. After running about 10 meters with the equipment, they finally got a clear look at the small, elusive old lady. No wonder her sudden appearance struck fear into everyone. She had no nasal bridge. Seeing the crowd retreat, she still didn't lower her hoe, her cloudy eyes fixed on them with a chilling gaze. The director quickly glanced at the old woman's terrifying face, then averted his eyes slightly, cautiously greeting her from a distance. "Hello? Are you the owner of this house? We're here to shoot a scene. We discussed this with your family beforehand, and they agreed to let us use the locust tree outside your yard for filming. Your family accepted the payment and gave their consent. Is it about the money?" The director wondered if the old lady's money had been embezzled or if there was some misunderstanding and quickly suggested, "How about this? I'll give you some more money." At this moment, a college student who had returned to the village and was accompanying his grandfather saw his grandmother holding a hoe and glaring angrily at the film crew, and his heart tightened. As he walked closer, he overheard the director asking his grandmother if her family had taken the money but not given it to her. Thinking of the money he had embezzled himself, he became even more flustered. Seeing that the villagers nearby were about to reveal the old lady's identity, the college student dashed forward and grabbed the old lady's arm. The old lady breathed a sigh of relief as soon as she saw her grandson arrive. "Tao Tao, stop them." However, the grandson took the hoe from her hand and turned to apologize to everyone. "I'm sorry, my grandmother is getting old, and her mind isn't always clear. Really sorry for disturbing your filming. Please, carry on." Speaking, he appeared gentle but used great force to drag the old lady into the house. The old lady's gaze turned anxious. "Tao Tao, don't let them dig. They mustn't dig." Ugh. The old lady's last words were muffled as her grandson dragged her into the house and firmly covered her mouth, until her grandson locked her with a gaze as sharp as a knife. Her mouth was tightly sealed, her body trapped on the bed, and her cloudy eyes finally shed 2 streams of tears. In a daze, she seemed to have returned to many years ago. It was also a face similar to her grandson's, one that had once trapped her in bed. She didn't want to accept her fate. She had tried to escape, countless times, but the result was broken legs for some and others left crippled. Her man was a butcher, and with one strike, her nasal bone was shattered. From then on, she no longer dared to run away. She was terrified that next time, the blade would be aimed at her neck. Later, a beautiful woman came to the village, completely different from them. Those were victims of trafficking, deception, and scars left by knives and sticks. But this woman came voluntarily, knowing nothing about the village. For a time, she became the laughingstock of the village. Everyone was waiting for those bright eyes to discover the truth and join them in numbness and decay. However, one day, she quietly escaped. This won't do. Later, she heard the wives of old Wang's family and old Li's family secretly rejoicing, saying that she was about to board the train. Once she got on the train, she could find their family members and send someone to rescue them. The butcher's wife touched her damaged nose, feeling shaken inside, but she did not feel any joy. Save her? Where to? Her family sold her to the butcher. Should her family go to jail? Once the truth about this village is exposed, what will happen to her son? With her ugly appearance, who else would marry her? Why should we save her? Why is she the only one left in hell? The wives of old Wang's family and old Li's family were trafficked here. They had never experienced hardship before and fled even more desperately than the butcher's wife because they wanted to go home. It wasn't until the butcher chopped off her nose bridge that the wives of old Wang's family and old Li's family finally settled down. Why? And they were defending themselves against her by not telling her when they were obviously so close. Did they know that even if she went out she would be homeless? So they deliberately left her behind. She went to the pig killer to tell on him. The pig killer was of a violent temperament and beat her severely. Immediately afterward, he went to find old Wang and old Li, capturing old Wang's wife and old Li's wife. That very night, the woman was brought back. What followed was a bloody frenzy among the men of the entire village. The knife that had once severed her nose struck the woman viciously, one slash after another. Her eyes remained unyielding, even in death. Everyone in the village received a piece of her corpse. They said the village's feng shui was bad, and women wanted to run away, so they needed to use the corpse pieces to stabilize the feng shui. The wives of old Wang's family and old Li's family witnessed the woman being dismembered with their own eyes and went mad, but she did not. Perhaps it was because she heard the sentence uttered by old Wang's wife and old Li's wife before they went mad. She said that once she remembers all her memories, she'll take you abroad to treat your nose bridge. You're insane. Why did you betray me? The butcher buried that woman's skull under the locust tree outside the yard. She seemed to have gone mad, yet perhaps not. She often went to water the locust tree, but was also often afraid to step out of the yard. She was suppressed. Day by day, time passed. Her son grew up and became a butcher. This time, she picked up the bone cleaver, buried the daughter-in-law under the locust tree. She started watering again. Later, the grandson also grew up. She could no longer lift the bone-cutting knife and was tied to the bed by her grandson. Outside the window came the terrified cries of people. The tattered curtains fluttered in the wind. The butcher's wife seemed to have seen that young and beautiful girl. She sat by the window, singing ballads that even the most learned people in the village couldn't understand. The educated youth who went to the countryside said, "That's called French." The girl held her face and said to her, "Don't worry, although I can't remember. I'm sure there are doctors in France who can fix your nose bridge. I'm sorry. Woo woo woo. I'm sorry." The elderly butcher's wife was confined to the bed, her face streaming with tears as she stared at the window, until her grandson burst in, clutching the cleaver tightly and pressing it fiercely against her neck. "Grandma, my mom, you killed my mom." The grandson glared at her resentfully, his bloodshot eyes seemingly burning with hatred. He was pulled back by the people behind him, urging him to calm down. The grandson was still struggling in his grief. The butcher's wife suddenly recalled something again. The wife wanted to run out to report, but the village chief persuaded her, saying that for the sake of her son's future, if the father went to prison, the son wouldn't be able to go to college. P.S. To prevent any misunderstanding, a brief explanation. It's actually about not being able to become a civil servant, but the village chief wanted to scare her. The grandson didn't understand the significance of college. He only knew that if his mother left and his father went to prison, there would be no one to wash his clothes or cook for him in the future. So, the grandson cried and desperately tried to stop his mother. Later, the daughter-in-law tried to escape again, but the son and father tied her to the bed. She told her son that they were going to slaughter a pig tonight and asked him to go play. When the son returned, he never looked for his mother again. The butcher's wife had deep wrinkles on her face, and tears kept streaming down. The grandson rushed forward, grabbed her by the neck, his voice trembling with anger. "Go die. Go die. For me. Go die. For your grandson's wealth and glory. Go die." Tears flowed more and more. The grandson failed to strangle her, but because she was alive, the hatred in the grandson's eyes was chilling. She remembered, the butcher's son was also a butcher, and the butcher's grandson, naturally, was also a butcher. Haha, she regretted it. In fact, she had regretted it long ago. The truth buried in Lingjia village for 50 years was finally uncovered by their descendants. The butcher's daughter-in-law disappeared during that time, and the other two college students quickly reported to the police to testify in order to eliminate their competitor. They even provided evidence of the butcher's son trafficking women. However, because they were too hasty, they forgot to cover up the fact of why they knew about this evidence but had never reported it. By the time the villagers who knew the truth returned from the mountains, they were already surrounded by police cars. The wife of the pig butcher, that flat-nosed old woman, confessed to all the evidence without hesitation. More than half of the villagers were sentenced. The village was deserted. However, she truly went mad. Her son and grandson were both thrown into prison. She cried herself blind and was sent back to the village all alone, where she was met with rotten vegetable leaves and stinking eggs. There were also innocent people in the village, those who married in later or were victims of human trafficking. Whether they came early or late, they were all filled with resentment toward the butcher's wife. If she hadn't betrayed them back then, the people in the village would have been saved long ago, and the innocent ones later wouldn't have married into the human trafficker's village and given birth to the trafficker's children. Everyone hated her. She had truly stepped into hell. The case of the human trafficker's village network shocked the entire internet. Mingqing University, in a female dormitory of the art department, Yi's face was pale as paper. The roommates angrily cursed the vile Lingjia village, but suddenly noticed Yi's unusual state and all looked at her with concern. "Yi, What's wrong? Yi's face was full of terror, her voice trembling. Lin Tao is from that human trafficker village. The roommates were dumbfounded, followed by a surge of fear. If Yi had really gone back with Lin Tao for the new year, then, they saw the school announcement stating that Lin Tao had been expelled due to a criminal case. Although the school didn't explicitly say it, everyone knew that Lin Tao was the accomplice in the news who had killed his mother years ago. Outside Lingjia village, Chen Hong quietly watched as the police escorted the related criminals away, her face calm and unruffled. In fact, the person who killed her had long since faced her revenge, tormented by illness in life and leaving not even a trace of a soul after death. The butcher's wife had already acted against her daughter-in-law before Chen Hong woke up. Over the years, the only ghosts able to leave Lingjia village intact were the innocent ones. Most ghosts have experienced the betrayal of their own sons. They are more eager to forget the pain and long for reincarnation. Before that, the ghostly aura they leave behind is meant to lend her a helping hand. Otherwise, she wouldn't have easily torn those beasts' souls apart. Those beasts were heartless and ungrateful, suffering from illness and torment while alive, and enduring the agony of their souls after death. The butcher's wife wasn't actually that afraid of death. She knew she wanted to die, but she didn't dare to face herself. So, she deliberately left the butcher's wife behind, wanting to watch her endure inner torment day after day. Then, it was the last one. Lin Zhongqing, her stepson who fled the village and never dared to return. She originally thought she would have to wait until her remains were unearthed before she could leave Lingjia village. Now, she had become Jiang Qianxia's ghost servant, making her actions even more convenient. But she did not move. Jiang Qianxia and the others were all taken to the police station for questioning. Although the arrival of the film crew, the old man, and Sitiyu successively uncovered the truth behind the buried remains, yet, Jiang Qianxia's adoptive parents once lived in Lingjia village. The old man was Lin Junia's biological father, and Sitiyu was Jiang Qianxia's husband. Everything seems to make sense again. While the police were furious about the murderous and trafficking activities in the village, they appeared helpless in the face of certain wealthy individuals' peculiar play. When Jiang Qianxia returned to Lingjia village, she saw Chen Hong quietly sitting atop the crown of the willow tree at the village entrance, watching the village women spit at the butcher's wife. When Chen Hong saw Jiang Qianxia approaching, her expression softened, and she casually floated down. "Girl, are you leaving?" Jiang Qianxia looked at her pretending to be relaxed and gently stepped forward to hug her. "Congratulations." Chen Hong froze for a moment, feeling a warm dampness in her empty eye sockets. After a few seconds, she smiled and followed Jiang Qianxia. Just as she truly stepped out of Lingjia village, Chen Hong suddenly paused, a golden light flashing across her body. She stood there, stunned, looking at Jiang Qianxia in disbelief. "Granddaughter, I have actually achieved perfect merit." It turns out that those women who died tragically left her not only ghostly energy but also gratitude. She fulfilled the lingering wishes of so many people, and now merit directly envelopes her. Just as she achieved perfect merit, a dark figure holding a morning staff and a life-reaping hook appeared. He let out a huh, glanced at Jiang Qianxia, then waved his sleeve, and Jiang Qianxia could see nothing. However, she could sense that the ghostly aura on the other party was completely different from the sinister ghostly aura. That black-robed ghost should be called a ghost deity. Sure enough, it wasn't long before Chen Hong returned. The black-robed figure was gone. Chen Hong told Jiang Qianxia that the person was Lord Black Impermanence. He had just come to inform her that she now had two choices. One was reincarnation, and with the merit she carried, she would surely be reborn as someone blessed with great fortune. The other was to choose to become a ghost deity. Jiang Qianxia looked at her. "You chose a deity?" Chen Hong, who had originally planned to tease her little granddaughter, was stunned for a moment, then helplessly took out the small divine token from behind her back. "Yes, I became a guardian deity. I want to protect some less fortunate girls." The divine tablet remained empty, and her request still needed Lord Black Impermanence to deliver it to the higher-ups before she could be granted a divine title. During this period, she could still fulfill her remaining wishes in the mortal world. She began to feel nervous, her gaze falling on Jiang Qianxia, who still had no idea that Lin Junia had come here because of her. Her heart started to tense up. At the moment of her ultimate fulfillment, all her memories surged back like a tide. She was about to see her daughter. The only person she had wronged was her daughter. If only she hadn't been so stubborn back then, taking her daughter far away to a foreign land. Along the way, Jiang Qianxia noticed Chuan Hong's nervousness. At first, she thought it was because they were about to meet old Master Chen. It wasn't until she had just stepped out of the car that she was tightly embraced by a frail yet warm hug. She was stunned. "Lin Junia, why is she here?" Almost uncontrollably, tears streamed down. "Xia xia, xia xia. It's good that you're okay. It's good that you're okay." Lin Junia came along with the police car escorting Lin Zhongqing. Before she arrived, she had already learned about Jiang Qianxia's situation in the Jiang family. Because old Master Chen is a veteran of the Jiang family's eldest brother's company, even the family butler easily knows about the Jiang family's affairs. Just as Lin Junia was filled with regret, something suddenly happened. She hadn't lived in Lingjia village for long and wasn't clear about the truth of the village, only knowing that some of the men had violent tendencies. As soon as the police mentioned Lingjia village, Lin Junia could no longer wait and rushed over immediately. Feeling Lin Junia's worry and tension, Jiang Qianxia slowly relaxed her body and tentatively hugged her back. Actually, she had long secretly guessed that Lin Junia had her own difficulties, especially after seeing the people in Lingjia village with her own eyes. She became even more certain that back then, seeing Lin Junia nervously let go of her hand, not daring to look her in the eye, Jiang Qianxia's emotions were too complex to describe. She spoke softly. "Back then, you sent me to participate in that transformation variety show not because I was disobedient, but because Lin Zhongqing took money and wanted to marry me back to Lingjia village, right?" Lin Junia froze slightly upon hearing this, then covered her mouth and nodded heavily. "I'm sorry, Xia Xia, it's mommy's fault. I couldn't protect you. How could mommy ever think you're disobedient? You're the best daughter. I'm sorry, mommy didn't know." Lin Junia's voice choked with sobs. Thinking of how the Jiang family had so forcefully taken her child away, her heart felt like it was being torn apart, and she couldn't control herself. And when Jiang Qianxia heard Lin Junia's words, the heavy burden in her heart was instantly lifted. She suddenly no longer cared about the differences between herself and the original host. Nearby, upon learning that Lin Zhongqing had intended to marry Jiang Qianxia back to Linjia village years ago, Old Master Chen and Situyu's gazes turned sharp. Back then, Lin Zhongqing was still young, and after committing an offense, he left Linjia village. Given the passage of time, he likely wouldn't face severe punishment. But dealing with such a person is much easier outside than in prison. Both had their own calculations in mind, but neither spoke them aloud. Chunhong looked anxiously and in shock at her daughter, who appeared much older than herself. Upon hearing about Lin Zhongqing's later misdeeds, she was instantly filled with rage. This beast, watch how I teach him a good lesson. Jiang Qianxia couldn't stop it in time. The spring red before her eyes had already vanished without a trace. Her heart warmed, knowing she had gone to deal with Lin Zhongqing. She then looked at Lin Junya, her gaze full of pity. Whether it was her or the original host, neither had understood why Lin Junya refused to divorce. Clearly, she had the ability to support herself and her daughter, yet she never left. If she were weak, why did she endure all those punches and kicks in front of her daughter every time? In fact, Lin Zhongqing didn't dare to hit Lin Junya easily because she was a teacher. If she had injuries, they would be noticed, and Lin Junya had a gentle personality and rarely resisted. Most of the time, Lin Zhongqing's anger was directed at his daughter, and Lin Junya took the beatings to protect her. Therefore, the original owner, feeling heartbroken, chose to sever ties with Lin Junya, believing she was a burden. As long as she left, her foster mother would no longer suffer. Jiang Qianxia hesitated for a moment but ultimately decided to tell Lin Junya the original owner's heartfelt thoughts. According to the original owner's personality, she probably wouldn't want to reveal her feelings, but Jiang Qianxia understood that if she didn't speak up, she might never have the chance again. She vaguely felt that her thoughts were increasingly merging with those of the original owner, gradually understanding the deeper meaning behind the original owner's actions. If she truly were the original owner, the moment of awakening might not be far away. However, at this moment, she was already different from the original owner. She wanted to tell all of this to Lin Junya. Lin Junya was stunned after hearing it, tears streaming down her face as she tightly embraced Jiang Qianxia. My dear Xia, how much grievance have you endured? She was so foolish, worrying that the Jiang family would distance themselves from Xia because of her, fearing that Lin Zhongqing's presence would make the Jiang family look down on Xia. Never had she thought that someone could treat their own child this way. While feeling heartbroken, Lin Junya's gaze gradually became resolute. Her father was right. She needed confidence. Now she had it. Since the Jiang family treated Qianxia poorly, she was determined to protect her. Due to issues with the case, the crew has paused filming. Jiang Qianxia didn't have many scenes left, mainly early flashbacks of Chunhong, so she returned to City A with the others. On the way, Chunhong caught up to tell Jiang Qianxia to go ahead. She wanted to stay here to witness the conclusion of Linjia village and deal with Lin Zhongqing. Seeing the worry between Chunhong's brows completely gone, Jiang Qianxia nodded in relief. She wanted to ask Chunhong if she planned to meet old Chen and Lin Junya, but before she could speak, Chunhong reminded her, since I'm here, don't bring them up. Jiang Qianxia nodded helplessly. However, neither she nor Chunhong knew that the others had already discerned everything from her inner thoughts. On the way back, it was Situyu who arranged the plane. After the plane landed, Jiang Qianxia saw the little one waiting at the airport. Ever since Jiang Qianxia left first, followed by Situyu's departure, the little one had been worried, fearing that they would return to how they were before. He is more clever than the average child and realized early on that adults' promises to children are not always reliable. It was only when he truly saw his parents return that he genuinely believed what Situyu had said earlier. So they really are coming back. The little guy's mouth quivered, tears streaming uncontrollably, and his short legs couldn't help but run toward Jiang Qianxia. Jiang Qianxia was originally marveling at Situyu's boldness, calmly surveying the airport, but was caught off guard by the sight of a little one running from afar. She casually thought to herself, whose little one is that? When she noticed there were no planes that had just landed nearby, she suddenly realized, seems like it's mine. Jiang Qianxia fixed her gaze and, after confirming it was indeed Situ Xiaoya, immediately rushed over. Although she hadn't seen him for a few days, she actually missed this little guy a lot. However, things had been so hectic here that she hadn't expected the little one to miss her just as much. The little guy raised both hands high, like a swallow returning to its nest, and dove into Jiang Qianxia's already open arms, calling out in a soft, childish voice, Mommy. That innocent and pure affection instantly melted Jiang Qianxia's heart. At this moment, Situyu, watching the scene from afar, couldn't help but reveal a warm glow in his eyes. However, in the next second, he suddenly felt two unfriendly gazes coming from beside him, and he froze instantly. Old Master Chen watched the mutual affection between Jiang Qianxia and Zai Zai. Although some of his worries were slightly eased, he cleared his throat and, when he looked at Situyu again, his tone was noticeably less cordial than before. It seems I've never heard of any joyous occasions in your Situ family before. Generally speaking, matters within the elite circles are rarely kept completely under wraps. Even though Old Master Chen and the Situ family had no personal ties, how could the marriage and childbearing of the Situ family's heir go entirely unnoticed? Thus, Old Master Chen's words carried a hint of skepticism, as if suspecting that Situyu might have had an illegitimate child before marriage. Lin Junya, on the other hand, was much more naive. She hadn't thought much about the intricacies of elite families. The only thing she cared about was, you, the person in front of you. Seeing the two elders who had praised him endlessly on the plane now hesitating, Situyu remained silent for 2 seconds before briefly explaining Situ Xiaoya's background. He emphasized, before marrying Qianxia, I was fully focused on my career, never dated, and had no intimate relationships with any women. Upon hearing that Situ Xiaoya was actually the child of Situyu's late elder brother, the expressions of the two elders immediately improved significantly. Watching Jiang Qianxia affectionately holding the hand of that well-behaved and adorable little child as she introduced him, their expressions instantly improved significantly. First of all, all, Jiang Qianxia clearly liked this child very much. Secondly, this mixed-race little one was simply too adorable. Although he didn't say much, he was astonishingly smart, and with just a brief interaction, he easily won over Old Master Chen and Lin Junia's hearts. One coaxed the little one to call grandma, while the other coaxed the little one to call great-grandpa. Unwilling to part with the little one, and equally unwilling to part with Jiang Qianxia, Old Master Chen waved his hand grandly and directly brought everyone to his villa. Originally, Jiang Qianxia just wanted to casually humor the old man's feelings and see off Old Master Chen and Lin Junia. However, when they arrived at the villa and the old man firmly insisted she follow them inside, she was completely stunned. Not only did Old Master Chen prepare a room for Lin Junia, but he also prepared a room for her. The style of the room was both unfamiliar and familiar, presumably designed with Lin Junia's involvement. Seeing Jiang Qianxia standing dazed at the door, Lin Junia showed a hint of nervousness. The old man noticed this and felt a bit uneasy himself, clearing his throat lightly. What are you standing there for? I only have your mom as my child, and that Cha girl doesn't acknowledge her family. Your mom only has you as her child, so naturally, this is your home. Go and see if you like it. If you don't, Grandpa will change it for you. C2 Xiaoya, who had been following closely beside Jiang Qianxia, tilted his little head. After hearing the adults' conversation, he couldn't help but tightly grasp Jiang Qianxia's hand with his small one. He didn't say anything, just nervously scrutinized the room in front of him. This is Mom's room, so is Mom still going to leave? The little one pursed his lips and looked up at his lonely dad following behind with an expectant gaze. After receiving the little one's gaze, Satuyu's originally slightly sour expression instantly softened, and he returned a determined smile to the little one. The little one's drooping shoulders straightened up again. The tacit understanding between the father and son was something Jiang Qianxia didn't notice at all. She only felt her heart suddenly filled to the brim. She naturally knew that the old man wanted to mend her relationship with Lin Junia. Although part of it was the old man's affection for her as a junior, it was more because of his love for his daughter, which extended to her. Therefore, despite the old man's dissatisfaction with Jiang Mingcha, she had never truly considered returning to Lin Junia's side. After all, Jiang Mingcha was her biological daughter. By then, this side would face the same kind of complicated situation as the Jiang family once did. She didn't want to be chosen, nor did she want to become the one forgotten. Even though the old man and Lin Junia definitely wouldn't act like those people from the Jiang family, but there's a saying that goes, the child who cries gets the milk. And Jiang Mingcha is precisely that child who cries. Even if both children are equally important, she isn't confident she can compete with Jiang Mingcha. Moreover, if familial affection requires competition to exist, then it might as well not exist at all. Although she believed the bond between the old man and Lin Junia was precious, she didn't want to face any possible scenarios. However, it turned out that the firm choice felt so wonderful. Such blatant favoritism. During the old man's tour of the room, he intentionally or unintentionally introduced her to other rooms. There was no Jiang Mingcha, only her. She didn't know if they had investigated her return to the Jiang family. The Jiang family didn't prepare a room for her. At first, she stayed in the guest room, especially since, after moving in, she actually didn't realize it was a guest room until Jiang Mingcha took her to his own room. She finally understood that the beautiful decorations in the room were things Jiang Mingcha no longer wanted and had given to her. Meanwhile, Jiang Mingcha's own room had been redecorated with new items. Those fantasies she once thought were warmly accepted were instantly shattered. Then, Jiang Mingcha accused her of breaking her crystal doll out of dissatisfaction with staying in the guest room. Finally, although the Jiang family gave her a new room and new decorations, the words poor character were deeply imprinted in her heart. She had hardly ever slept in that brand new princess room. Jiang Qianxia seemed to recall the impatient looks the Jiang family gave her when they arranged the new room for her. She was unable to defend herself, wanting to explain but questioned by everyone. What else are you dissatisfied with? She doesn't want a room. What she wants is innocence and justice. She wants trust. Jiang Qianxia's heartfelt voice echoed in her ears. Lin Junia covered her face, and tears of disbelief streamed down uncontrollably. The Jiang family, what gives them the right? Old Master Chen had already guessed that his daughter could hear Jiang Qianxia's inner voice when he saw her expression back in Linjia village. He patted his daughter's shoulder, gently nudged Jiang Qianxia, and said in a deep voice, go in and take a look. Although Grandpa came a bit late and you're already married, even if you become a grandmother, this will always be your home. There's a little surprise Grandpa prepared for you in the room. Why don't you look around and find it? Jiang Qianxia heard this, turned her back to everyone, nodded, and broke into a smile through her tears. Great. She lifted her foot and walked into this unfamiliar yet truly belonging to her room. Outside the door, Satuyu's gaze was like an abyss, heavy enough to suffocate. The little one beside him had tearful eyes, carrying a hint of uneasy ferocity. Anyone who makes mom sad is a bad person. Jiang Qianxia, full of anticipation, began her treasure hunt. This room was not arranged by a professional designer. Its style was chaotic yet warm like spring, as if it recorded the growth journey of a girl. On the wall hangs a childish doll, a fairy tale style dressing mirror glimmers with light, and a trendy designer sofa is placed nearby. Behind the revolving door is a walk-in closet, empty, as if not much has been prepared. Inside the closet, the most striking feature is the sparkling jewelry stand. After all, the old man never lacked these. At the top of the jewelry stand, like a queen sitting high on her throne, quietly rests a crystal-topped cabinet. Inside lies that set, rare treasures. Jiang Qianxia's eyes widened slightly, filled with amazement. Old Master Chen did not follow her into the room, but from Jiang Qianxia's sudden silence, he had already guessed her whereabouts. He waited quietly, without urging her to hurry. After a while, Jiang Qianxia finally came out. She was wearing the necklace worth over 100 million around her neck, walking out slightly shyly. Seeing the satisfied smiles on the old man's and Lin Junia's faces, she felt a sense of relief. In fact, during the old man's earlier phone call, she had guessed whether he might sell it to her at a low price. Unexpectedly, the old man had directly given it to her. At this moment, the value of this necklace has already surpassed the realm of money. The old man's affection is the true rare treasure. She cannot repay this familial bond with money. She looked earnestly at Grandpa Chen. Thank you, Grandpa. Then she turned her head to look at Lin Junia. Thank you, Mom. In the room, Lin Junia's thoughtful thoughtfulness could be seen everywhere. She remembered Jiang Qianxia's past preferences and was also making an effort to understand her current feelings. Now, she truly had a home. That night, although the old man and Lin Junya were reluctant to let Jiang Qianxia go, they did not insist on keeping her. The next day, Lin Junya cautiously asked Jiang Qianxia, "Are you free today? Come shopping with me." Lin Zhongqing was arrested, and Lin Junya's divorce agreement was put on the agenda. She could finally drop the pretense and prepare to move. She wanted to buy some everyday clothes and also pick up a few items for Jiang Qianxia's room. Jiang Qianxia naturally did not refuse. However, before heading out, she first had a meal with the little one and prepared to take him to kindergarten. And Sityu had already finished dinner, sitting on the sofa typing on his computer, appearing busy and focused. When Jiang Qianxia and the little one got up, he naturally stood up as well, saying nothing, clearly intending to accompany them to send off the little one. Jiang Qianxia blinked. "Aren't you busy?" The little one he was holding also tilted his head and blinked, as if asking, "Aren't you busy?" Sityu shook his head. "Not busy." Jiang Qianxia was stunned, secretly thinking, "But I felt like your keyboard was about to spark just now." Sityu cleared his throat lightly, grabbed his coat with one hand, and turned around coolly. "Let's go. I have to inspect the branch office later, so I'll drop you off at the mall on the way." Jiang Qianxia's almond-shaped eyes widened involuntarily. What a coincidence. She stared at the man's upright back, feeling a vague sense that something was off. Could it really be such a coincidence? I think I only mentioned the time and place while on the phone when I was heading downstairs, right? Wasn't he working at the time? She recalled the way he had looked so focused on his work half an hour ago, and her cheeks couldn't help but flush slightly. Up ahead, C2U, who had just opened the car door, slipped and almost fell. After getting in the car, he, who claimed his work wasn't busy, buried himself in his computer again. Jiang Qianxia chuckled secretly and casually started playing with the little one. The mall was not far from the kindergarten. Before Jiang Qianxia got out of the car, C2U, who was engrossed in his work, suddenly called out to her and handed her a card. Seeing Jiang Qianxia hesitate, he added earnestly, "According to the contract, this is the labor fee." As C2U's wife, all reasonable expenses were covered by him, but previously, Jiang Qianxia had never asked him for anything. At this moment, Jiang Qianxia was momentarily stunned. Seeing his serious expression but noticing his ears quietly turning red, she couldn't help but smile as she took the card. "Thank you, boss." Seeing that she didn't refuse, C2U secretly breathed a sigh of relief. In fact, since yesterday, he had been feeling a sense of crisis. Although he hadn't interacted much with Jiang Qianxia, he knew that she had a clear boundary in her heart. For instance, the necklace that Mr. Chen gave her yesterday, he could give her one too, but he knew Jiang Qianxia would definitely not accept it. Enjoying the benefits of the Lord, bearing the responsibilities of the Lord, in the eyes of this money-loving woman, she knows all too well that there is no such thing as a free lunch. She accepted the old man's necklace because she accepted that bond of family affection. As for him, he wasn't qualified enough. This realization kept Sityu awake all night, his heart filled with bitterness and sourness, yet at this moment, he felt content. At least Jiang Qianxia didn't reject his card, which means she doesn't resist their relationship. Gradually getting closer is fine too. The driver saw his previously cold and aloof boss smile because of a simple "thank you, boss," and couldn't help but sigh inwardly, which CEO is this easily satisfied. To conveniently drop off his wife, he went tens of thousands of miles out of the way. Truly convenient indeed. Of course, Jiang Qianxia was completely unaware of the driver's complaints. She quickly met Lin Junya, who was accompanied by two female housekeepers. Originally, the old man had hired many teachers to help his daughter regain her confidence but hesitated to arrange them for Lin Junya, only wanting her to live freely. However, due to the favoritism shown to Jiang Qianxia, Lin Junya was slightly affected, directly submitted her retirement application, and proactively began learning to adapt to the rules of the wealthy circle. Perhaps it was the strength of a mother. Last time, when she went out wearing the rich lady outfit chosen by the housekeepers, she appeared timid, but as soon as she stepped out, she was immediately seen through. Today, Lin Junya was radiant, completely different from before. She was dressed in luxurious attire, carrying a designer bag in her hand, yet she remained understated. Her naturally noble demeanor was truly admirable. When she caught Jiang Qianxia's surprised gaze, she finally revealed a hint of genuine shyness. "This is the teacher your grandfather found for me, and I also had some treatments done. Does the result look good?" Jiang Qianxia looked at the much younger Lin Junya and nodded slightly. In fact, no matter how good the care is, it's hard to achieve the miraculous effects of being in your teens. The main reason is that Lin Junya has a good foundation. With just a little grooming, she looks much younger, and most importantly, her energy and spirit have been completely renewed. Although her skin condition is far from those wealthy ladies who have maintained it for years, her beauty is undeniable. Upon closer inspection, Jiang Qianxia felt that Lin Junya surpassed Jiang Mingcha. She inherited the strengths of the old master and Chunhong, while also blending in her own unique charm. As for Jiang Mingcha, she's probably more like her biological father. After gaining her daughter's approval, Lin Junya became more confident, grabbed Jiang Qianxia, and headed straight to the mall to start a shopping spree. Initially, Jiang Qianxia wanted to use the card given by Sityu, but Lin Junya raised her hand to stop her. She said with a cheerful smile, "Your grandfather gave me a task. I'm not allowed to go home today unless I spend 5 million. At first, she didn't even dare to walk in clothes worth tens of thousands, but the old man, as the godfather of the fashion world, could tolerate anything except seeing his daughter wronged in her attire. Thus, ever since the reunion, the old man assigned his daughter the task of spending money. Facts proved that this strategy was remarkably effective. At first, it was 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. Lin Junya spent with trepidation. Although she had gained a deep understanding of her father's wealth, she still felt a pang of guilt every time she spent money. Later, she gradually got used to it. Now, she has figured out the knack for for spending money. Spending on herself, she still feels a bit reluctant. But spending on her daughter is a completely different matter. Her daughter deserves the best. In the mall, the lavish mother-daughter duo quickly became the talk of the place, and Jiang Qianxia unintentionally garnered countless envious glances. Seeing those gazes, Lin Junya actually felt a bit nervous inside, but her face remained noble and aloof as she slightly asked Jiang Qianxia, "What's going on?" Jiang Qianxia was amused by Lin Junya's confident yet insecure demeanor. She leaned gently toward her ear and whispered, "They're definitely all jealous that I have a rich mom." Upon hearing this, Lin Junya's eyes lit up instantly. Her performance became even more effortless, and she even started praising her daughter to the store clerk. Jiang Qianxia was helplessly pushed by Lin Junya into the fitting room to try on clothes. Sure enough, it wasn't long before she heard Lin Junya's voice transformed into that of a doting mother. Just as she was about to walk over, she suddenly heard a familiar voice chiming in. "That's right, daughters are their mother's little cotton-padded jackets. I have 2 daughters, but they're not very close." The voice sighed and then asked the store clerk about the outfit recommended to Lin Junya earlier, wanting to buy the same one for her daughter. The shop assistant regretfully replied, "Sorry, ma'am, this is a limited edition with only 2 pieces, and one of them has already been reserved by this lady." Mrs. Zhang's expression stiffened slightly. Seeing Lin Junya coldly staring at her, she felt a bit displeased but, considering the other party's significant status, didn't want to create conflict. She forced a smile and gave a number to the shop assistant, inquiring whether the remaining piece would be suitable. The shop assistant hesitated for a moment and softly asked, "Ma'am, you mentioned that your 2 daughters don't get along. Would you like to look at other styles? There are other designs with 2 pieces available." After all, didn't this lady say her 2 daughters don't get along? If she only bought 1 piece, wouldn't that be? Mrs. Zhang's expression turned somewhat unpleasant. The shop assistant realized they had misspoken and quickly apologized. However, Mrs. Zhang nodded and said, "You're right, let me take a look at the 2-piece ones. But I'll still hold on to this one, Mingcha likes it." Just as she finished speaking, the unfamiliar lady in front of her turned cold. "Sorry, I'll take both pieces." Mrs. Zhang's expression changed, finally confirming that the initial displeasure this unfamiliar lady had shown toward her was not an illusion. She truly seemed to have an issue with her. Mrs. Jiang already had a bad temper and immediately darkened her face. "Sorry, I know all the wealthy ladies in City A. May I ask who you are? Are you new here and not quite familiar with the ways of dealing with people around here?" Faced with Mrs. Jiang's sarcasm, Lin Junya felt a chill in her heart, a mix of irony and regret. During their last meeting, she was just an ordinary teacher, and Mrs. Jiang had looked down on her, not even sparing her a proper glance. Now, with a change of clothes, Mrs. Jiang was so angry her eyes were almost askew, yet she still maintained a superficial composure. How could she possibly trust someone so snobbish to take care of her child? Moreover, Lin Junya stared at the remaining piece of clothing, her eyes narrowing slightly. She found Jiang's mother increasingly ridiculous. Her biological daughter was laughable too. She actually thought this was the kind of clothing Jiang Mingcha would like. As her birth mother, Lin Junya had only seen Jiang Mingcha a few times from afar, yet she knew this was absolutely not her style. If she claimed to like it, it was probably just to snatch Qianxiao's clothes. And yet, one dared to say it, and the other dared to believe it. The anger in Lin Junya's heart had nowhere to go. She coldly glanced at Jiang's mother and snorted, "I'm indeed not some big shot, just a mother, that's all. Since this piece of clothing is meant for my daughter, naturally, someone else's daughter can't wear it. So, I'm going to buy it and destroy it." Jiang's mother was already infuriated by Lin Junya's inexplicable disdain. Now, hearing her say this, she was so angry she nearly lost her composure and wanted to confront her. However, noticing the 2 female housekeepers behind Lin Junya, she realized the other party's status was not low and had no choice but to hold back. But she, the dignified Mrs. Jiang, had her clothes snatched away in a shabby mall. How could she face anyone if this got out? She took a deep breath and was about to speak when a familiar voice suddenly interrupted her. "Mom." Mrs. Jiang froze, turned around in surprise, and caught sight of the dress Jiang Qianxia was wearing. Her heart instinctively sank, worried that her daughter had overheard what she had just said, and she wanted to explain. The unfamiliar lady beside her suddenly smiled, stepped past her, grabbed Jiang Qianxia's arm, and looked her over with satisfaction. "Oh my daughter looks good in anything." Mrs. Jiang was stunned, but quickly reacted. "What do you mean, your daughter?" However, Lin Junya ignored her, admiring the dress on Jiang Qianxia with satisfaction. She gracefully said to the stunned shop assistant standing nearby, "Charge it to my card, both dresses together." Upon hearing this, the female housekeeper holding her card hurriedly handed it over. The shop assistant, still bewildered, completed the transaction, only to notice that the previously arrogant lady's expression had turned panicked. She rushed forward in disbelief. "What do you mean, your daughter? Who are you?" "This is clearly my daughter." The shop assistant widened her eyes in utter astonishment. In this luxurious store, she had seen wives and mistresses competing for attention, but it was the first time she witnessed 2 wealthy ladies arguing over their daughters. What was even more shocking was that the size requested by Jiang's mother was not even the style Jiang Qianxia was wearing. Hiss. The shop assistant exchanged a silent gossiping look with her colleagues who were secretly watching, inwardly marveling at the scene. As for the main character of the drama, Lin Junya, she was already on the verge of exploding with anger after recognizing the other party. Jiang's mother was stunned for over 10 seconds, and the panic in her heart was quickly replaced by fury. She took a deep breath and coldly glanced at Jiang Qianxia. "Qianxia, did you deliberately bring her here to provoke me?" Jiang Qianxia immediately regained her aloof demeanor upon hearing Lin Junya's identity. Just as she was about to speak, Lin Junya gently stopped her. Raising her hand, she assertively blocked Jiang Qianxia, her delicate face exuding an aura no less imposing than Jiang's mother. "Mrs. Jiang, there's no need to flatter yourself, nor to presumptuously speculate about my my daughter. Our Chanxia is a sensible child and would never stoop to such petty behavior. I am here because my daughter was taken away but was not properly cherished. Therefore, I have no intention of entrusting her to you. The words you once said to me, I now return to you verbatim. As a mother, you should know what's best for your daughter. What you can offer Chanxia now is far less than what I can provide. I hope Mrs. Jiang will withdraw gracefully and not make a spectacle in front of the child. Lin Junia had once been a Chinese teacher. Her words were gentle and elegant, yet every syllable was clear and deeply meaningful. Her aura was even more imposing than the lofty demeanor Jiang's mother had displayed back then. Jiang's mother turned red and pale in anger, ultimately left with no choice but to look helplessly at Jiang Chanxia. However, Jiang Chanxia paid no attention to her, affectionately supporting Lin Junia without looking back, as if the quarrel behind her had nothing to do with her. The mother of Jiang felt ignored for the first time, especially by her biological daughter whom she never paid much attention to. Her face alternated between pale and livid, her heart filled with resentment but with no outlet to vent. The sales assistants at the mall all knew her identity, so she couldn't chase after her daughter to argue. She could only clutch her chest, her anger causing physical pain, and silently return home. As soon as she entered the Jiang household, the mother instinctively wanted to confide in Jiang Mingxia. However, upon seeing Jiang Mingxia's expectant face, she was immediately struck by the disappointment of returning empty-handed, as if something was blocking her chest, making her feel extremely uncomfortable. Thinking of Lin Junia as Jiang Mingxia's biological mother, her heart surged with complex emotions. If she isn't deliberately trying to provoke me, then she must have gotten lucky and become successful, harboring resentment over the past when I took away both children. Now she's here to snatch her daughter, and she'll definitely start with her biological one first, the mother thought to herself, her anger boiling inside. Jiang Mingxia had always been kind to others, and perhaps she had already accepted the overtures of her biological mother. In an instant, the mother's gaze toward Jiang Mingxia became scrutinizing, and the words she had intended to say were swallowed back. Jiang Mingxia knew that her mother had gone out today to buy a gift for Jiang Chanxia, but she was well aware that her mother would never treat her unfairly, so she deliberately stayed home, hoping to win her mother's sympathy. However, unexpectedly, Mother Jiang returned empty-handed not long after leaving, her face clouded with gloom. Seeing this, Jiang Mingxia immediately restrained her disappointed expression and affectionately tried to take Mother Jiang's hand, only to find that she seemed to deliberately avoid her. Jiang Mingxia's smile froze instantly. Mom, did something happen to you today? Mother Jiang's heart tightened as she recalled the scene of Jiang Chanxia leaving with Lin Junia. A deep bitterness welled up inside her. Jiang Chanxia was not an ungrateful child, she just had never been this close to her. This disparity stirred waves of sourness in her heart. That was her flesh and blood, so what right did Lin Junia have to steal the affection that belonged to her? She held Lin Junia's daughter in the palm of her hand for over 20 years, while Lin Junia mistreated my daughter for so many years, and now she shamelessly comes to take her away. Mother Jiang was furious. For the first time, she deeply realized the fact that Jiang Mingxia was not her biological child. Thinking of Lin Junia, her chest tightened with anger, and she couldn't help but direct some of her frustration toward Jiang Mingxia. Although Jiang Mingxia was still as filial and considerate as ever, Mother Jiang couldn't help but wave her hand dismissively. It's nothing. I have a bit of a headache. I'll go upstairs to rest for a while. Don't disturb me for now. After speaking, Jiang's mother quickly went upstairs, leaving Jiang Mingxia alone in the room. Once she was completely gone, the smile on Jiang Mingxia's face could no longer be maintained. With a gloomy expression, she returned to her room and dialed a phone number. The phone rang a few times before it was answered. Jiang Mingxia complained angrily, "What are you doing? Why did it take so long to answer?" There was a few seconds of silence on the other end of the line, making Jiang Mingxia's reproach seem a bit guilty. Her tone softened. Something happened on my side. Unfortunately, something happened on my side too. But there's some good news, the other person said in a deep voice. Jiang Mingxia was taken aback. What good news? Your biological father is going to prison. Ha ha ha. Cough, 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 cough. The hoarse laughter on the other end of the phone carried a terrifying, gut-wrenching tone. Listening to it, Jiang Mingxia felt a surge of joy in her heart, but her face remained calm. After all, he is my biological father. Before she could finish, the other party lost patience. Oh, spare me. Save that act for the Jiang family to enjoy. Who doesn't? No who? Ha ha ha. You probably can't wait for him to die in prison so he won't come out and keep asking you for money, right? Jiang Mingxia's gaze turned so dark it was frightening, but she didn't dare to refute the mockery from the other end of the line. Forcing herself, she changed the subject. That thing you gave me, does it have no effect at all? Lately, the Jiang family's attitude toward me has been increasingly. Before she could finish speaking, the voice on the other end of the phone coldly interrupted. I've already told you, using too little of this stuff will lead to resistance. You need to go all in. Jiang Mingxia hesitated at the thought of the side effects. Then, recalling the recent indifference of the Jiang family, her gaze hardened. Then give me some more. A meaningful laugh came from the other end of the phone. Sure, but I've run into a little problem here. First, give me 2 million, and then help me arrange my departure abroad. On the other end of the phone, Jiang Mingxia's heart instantly tightened. Her expression changed, full of confusion. You're going abroad? Her thoughts turned like a storm, a faint unease rising in her heart. If you go abroad, will you come back? Of course. The other party let out a sinister laugh, a hint of malice in their voice. I've run into some trouble recently, so I'm going abroad to lay low. After all, there's no partner as good as you, Miss Jiang, overseas, wouldn't you agree? Jiang Mingxia's heart clenched, sensing that things were not so simple. Her eyes flickered. Since you're going abroad, I want double. First, give me a year's supply, and once you're abroad, I need to know where you're staying. The person on the other end of the phone seemed well prepared and unsurprised. Sure, but 2 million isn't enough. Give me another 10 million US dollars. Upon hearing the words US dollars, Jiang Mingxia's face instantly turned pale. Impossible. However, the other party had already anticipated her reaction and sneered. The esteemed little princess of the Jiang family can't even come up with a mere 10 million US dollars? In a year, you could easily extract countless times that amount from the Jiang family, couldn't you? If you can't even part with this, what sincerity is there in discussing cooperation? The voice on the phone carried a hint of threat, and Jiang Mingcha was burning with anger inside but had no choice but to suppress it. With a dark expression, she continued the negotiation stiffly, knowing the other party's temper. 5 million, double the dosage. After speaking, afraid of provoking the other party, Jiang Mingcha explained softly, recently, the Jiang family's attitude towards me has changed a bit. I can't come up with such a large sum of money, and, if I completely lose the Jiang family's trust, it would be hard for you to find such a generous client like me again, wouldn't it? A mocking laugh came from the other end of the phone. What's this? Miss Jiang isn't so aloof anymore. Just double the dosage isn't enough to make the Jiang family completely devoted to you. Have you figured it out now? Ready to become the young mistress of the Jiang family? Jiang Mingcha's heart trembled. A glimmer of darkness flashed in her eyes. Thinking of the recent cold attitude of the Jiang family's eldest brother towards her, she closed her eyes, struggling inwardly. Stop wasting words. $8 million, a year and a half's worth. If you're still unwilling, I'll find another way. Half an hour later, Jiang Mingcha walked into the Jiang family's small garden with a gloomy expression. The gardener noticed and wanted to step forward to inquire, but Jiang Mingcha took a deep breath and gestured for him to leave. After the person left, she carefully dug out a package from the loosened soil beside the bushes. After confirming the contents of the package, Jiang Mingcha's expression first relaxed with relief, then turned exceptionally grim. This is an upscale villa area, and surveillance cameras are everywhere. That person is actually so bold. A palpitating fear rose from the bottom of her heart. He actually had the ability to do this. Could it be that he intentionally left evidence in the surveillance cameras and wanted to blackmail himself? Thinking of this, Jiang Mingcha quickly hid her things and returned to her room before dialing a phone number, and after sidestepping her, she got a result that made her face turn white. She hung up the phone and, in disbelief, went to the property management office to check the surveillance footage outside the yard. To her surprise, the footage showed no suspicious figures near the yard in the past 2 months. Noticing her pale face, the property manager quickly asked with concern, Miss Jiang, are you okay? Jiang Mingcha was so startled that she took half a step back. It wasn't until she saw the property manager's puzzled expression that she realized her reaction. She cleared her throat and tried to regain a natural expression. Sorry, I might have remembered it wrong. After speaking, Jiang Mingcha let out a sigh of relief and turned to return to the Jiang family. On the way, she gradually calmed down. Staring at the medicinal powder in her hand, her gaze turned vicious again. She murmured softly, you forced me to do this. She directly took out the largest dose and headed to the kitchen. On the other side, Jiang Qianxia had just left the mall with Lin Junya when she received an unexpected call from Zhao Choutong. Due to reconciling with Lin Junya, Jiang Qianxia briefly introduced her abilities and business to her. After listening, Lin Junya's first reaction was, Shuxia, is this dangerous? Thinking about how most of the time it brings abundant wealth and allows her to enjoy gossip, Jiang Qianxia cleared her throat lightly. It's very safe, rest assured. Plus, I have a natural spiritual body, impervious to ghosts and evils. But it's better not to mention the existence of ghosts, so as not to scare people. Lin Junya had actually vaguely learned about Jiang Qianxia's abilities from her inner thoughts, even knowing that she could see ghosts. Now, hearing her mention spiritual entities, she felt slightly relieved, but she was still puzzled about the ghost around her last time. However, she did not ask further. She nodded. Then, Mom will head back first. Will you call Mom again? Jiang Qianxia obediently agreed. After watching Lin Junya leave, she turned to meet Zhao Choutong. Zhao Choutong's company was not far from here, and the two agreed to meet at her office. Due to the sensitive nature of the topic, when Jiang Qianxia arrived downstairs at Zhao Choutong's company, the secretary was already waiting at the door to escort her to meet Zhao Choutong. The overwhelmed Zhao Choutong finally looked up and rubbed her aching temples. I'm really sorry, Qianxia. I already owe you 2 meals, but I truly can't get away recently. Since the last banquet ended, those who drank the spiked wine from Jing Xiaoyuan had not shown any abnormalities. Repeated tests on the spiked wine also revealed no issues. Ultimately, the police speculated that it might have been a childish act of malicious revenge, with the added substance being merely an unclean material with minimal side effects. However, not long after the banquet ended, strange events began to occur one after another. First, a wealthy lady suddenly developed an interest in Jing Xiaoyuan and even approached Zhao Choutong, asking her to divorce him quickly so she could be with Jing Xiaoyuan. The problem is, this wealthy lady is almost 50, and she's the type who married into a wealthy family through her children, with no real substance. What gives her such confidence? Just as Zhao Choutong was feeling puzzled, this wealthy lady's husband actually kidnapped Jing Xiaoyuan. When Zhao Choutong thought she might become a widow before her divorce, Jing Xiaoyuan called the police. As his partner, Zhao Choutong was summoned to the police station, only to see not a bruised and battered Jing Xiaoyuan, but a deeply humiliated and furious him. It turned out that he had been tricked onto the cruise ship by a wealthy man under the guise of investment, almost encountering something unbearable. After the police station clarified the case, everyone exchanged bewildered glances and cast indescribable looks of sympathy toward Zhao Choutong. It seemed they couldn't understand how she had chosen this ultimate male dodgy. Admittedly, Jing Xiaoyuan's looks were decent, but men tend to become greasy after 30, and Jing Xiaoyuan was no exception. A middle-aged man, who had local tycoons going to great lengths just to get a taste of him. Reportedly, when he was rescued, he had already been forcibly kissed. What's even more terrifying is that when the wealthy wife saw Jing Xiaoyuan's self-destructive appearance, as fragile as a ravaged delicate flower, muttering I'm dirty, her plump body trembled as if exploding in an instant. She suddenly charged forward and started wrestling with her wealthy husband. Nearby, the police officers with stern expressions were discussing the case with the victim's family. They exchanged glances, their faces looking as if they'd seen a ghost. Oh. Surprised face. Oh. In the following days, such bizarre scenes frequently played out at the A City Police Department. Not only the entire police department but the whole of the city was suddenly abuzz with rumors about the middle-aged male dodgy, leaving people utterly speechless. What's even more terrifying is that the once unyielding Jing Xiaoyuan, upon discovering his irresistible charm, instantly let himself go and brazenly became the darling of wealthy tycoons and their wives. The only good news is that that, thanks to Jing Xiaoyuan's maneuvering with a certain big fish, she actually managed to skip the divorce cooling-off period and quickly received the divorce certificate in her hands. At this moment, Zhao Corporation is suffering retaliation from those tycoons who have been utterly bewitched by Jing Xiaoyuan. Though ants are small, they can shake an elephant. Moreover, the gap between Zhao Corporation and those companies isn't that significant. Therefore, Zhao Choutong has been extremely worried recently. After finishing the first round of gossip, Jiang Qianxia tried hard to suppress the gleam in her eyes caused by the juicy news. She shook her head and comforted, ahem, it's okay. The situation you mentioned shouldn't last too long, and your ex-husband is likely to face backlash. Hearing shouldn't last too long, Zhao Choutong let out a sigh of relief. That's good. Jiang Qianxia nodded. It's a bit like casting a spell, but we'll need to wait for my friend to take a closer look. A few days ago, she left in such a hurry that before heading to Lingjia village, she forgot to hand over the drugged sample to Bai Yifu for him to help investigate. Right after receiving Zhao Choutong's call, she immediately arranged for someone to deliver the sample she had left in the villa to Bai Yifu's contact. After listening to Jiang Qianxia's description, both Bai Yifu and the young Taoist agreed that this was likely a case of gu sorcery. Thus, Bai Yifu recommended to Jiang Qianxia a nearby expert skilled in gu sorcery, estimating that results would come soon. After taking a nap, Zhang's mother woke up with an even darker expression. In her dream, she saw her two daughters refusing to acknowledge her, instead clinging to Lin Junya on either side. At that moment, Lin Junya's true nature was fully revealed. She forbade the two daughters from contacting their mother right in front of her. The pain was like a knife cutting through her heart. Her daughters were cold and indifferent, as if she no longer mattered in this family. Initially, Jiang Mingcha felt a twinge of guilt, but under Lin Junya's cold gaze, she chose to ignore her own mother. Zhang's mother was almost jolted awake by anger. After waking up, the scenes from the dream lingered, making it impossible for her to fall back asleep. When she went downstairs, she noticed Jiang Mingcha was nowhere to be seen. Uneasy, she wondered, had she already gone to find Lin Junya? Just as she was feeling uneasy, Jiang Mingcha walked out of the kitchen and saw Zhang's mother with a gloomy expression, which startled her. But soon, she realized that Zhang's mother hadn't noticed her, and she felt slightly relieved. Mom, you're awake? She asked cautiously. Hearing her daughter's voice, Zhang's mother's expression suddenly softened, though she still felt lingering fear. Mingcha, you are at home? Of course I'm at home, Mom. I noticed you were in a bad mood, so I specially made some calming soup for you. Jiang Mingcha smiled sweetly, walked over, and helped her sit on the sofa. Mrs. Zhang's expression immediately improved. She patted Jiang Mingcha's hand and said gratefully, Mingcha, you're so thoughtful. If you were my own daughter, it would be perfect. Halfway through her words, Mrs. Jiang suddenly froze. She recalled the time she had a fever, and Mingcha had made her a calming soup. Her casual remark back then had been overheard by Qianxia, who turned and left, never looking back since. That neglected memory suddenly surged into her mind, and Mrs. Jiang felt increasingly distressed. The more she thought about it, the more painful it became. Seeing her mother lost in thought, Jiang Mingcha paused slightly, then quickly regained her gentle demeanor and comforted her. Mom, are you thinking about Qianxia? Hearing this, Zhang's mother felt guilty, but Jiang Mingcha continued, Mom, I've been reflecting on myself these past few days. In a few days, I'll be participating in a variety show with Qianxia. At that time, I will definitely apologize to her. Don't worry, I will bring her back. Upon hearing this, Zhang's mother's eyes instantly turned red. Jiang Mingcha personally picked up the calming soup. Mom, you don't seem to be in good spirits. Drink a little more. Her gaze darkened slightly as she watched Zhang's mother finish a bowl. Then, using you're not feeling well as an excuse, she persuaded her to drink another bowl. After drinking, Zhang's mother felt a bit tired, but she was afraid Jiang Mingcha might overthink, so she found an excuse. I know you're being filial. Your father and grandmother are talking in the study. Why don't you bring them a bowl too, so they can see how thoughtful you are? Jiang Mingcha obediently nodded. Okay, not just for dad and grandma, but for my brothers too. Hearing this, Zhang's mother finally felt relieved. Upstairs, Zhang's father was talking with Zhang's grandmother. Father Jiang firmly believed that Jiang Qianxia possessed a talent for metaphysics and was discussing with old Madame Jiang about contacting someone from the metaphysical community. Although the Jiang family was considered a prominent household in City A, people from the metaphysical community were different from ordinary individuals. Even if motivated by wealth, they still required respectful treatment. Therefore, making contact was not easy. Fortunately, old Madame Jiang had some connections, and after several twists and turns, they finally found a master who was willing to personally meet this metaphysical prodigy. Of course, Father Jiang and old Madame Jiang felt somewhat apprehensive. If they didn't exaggerate Jiang Qianxia's abilities, the metaphysical community wouldn't pay any attention. However, the master's willingness to come was not a simple matter. He required evidence. Evidence. Father Jiang pondered with a serious expression. Now that girl is rebellious, and the master hasn't arrived yet, I suppose. Father Jiang's words made the old Madame Jiang fall into contemplation as well. After the last dinner gathering, her opinion of this granddaughter had shifted, especially since her purpose in inviting the metaphysics master to take her as a disciple was to build a connection, not to continue opposing her. Calling him over directly now was clearly inappropriate. Let's wait for the master to arrive before calling her over. As for the evidence, Mrs. Jiang pondered for a moment. Then, a peace talisman. She vaguely felt that achieving the level of Jiang Qianxia was not merely a matter of simple talent, but to be on the safe side, she still said this. Exaggerate a little. When the master comes, we'll spend some money and ask the master to take the child in. Even if she doesn't have exceptional talent, as long as she can get started, I believe the master would still be willing to accept her. As he spoke, the door was knocked. The mother and son exchanged a glance, their thoughts in sync. Father Jiang stood up and looked toward the door. Come in. When Jiang Mingcha appeared holding a cup of calming tea, Father Jiang's eyes lit up and he immediately sat back down. Jiang Mingcha was sensible and did not ask what they were discussing, even though she vaguely heard Jiang Qianxia's name. However, it's okay. Soon, everything will be different. Jiang Mingcha smiled even more sweetly, personally placing the calming tea in front of Father Jiang and the old Madame Jiang. Only after watching them finish drinking did she take the tonic soup and leave. After Jiang Mingcha left with the tonic soup, Father Jiang suddenly recalled what he had heard from Jiang Qianxia's inner thoughts, and his expression subtly changed. He glanced at the old Madame Jiang and said in a deep voice, "Mom, I'll arrange a health checkup for you soon, and I'll get myself checked as well." After hearing her son's words, the old Madame Jiang cast him a disdainful glance. "You, don't let that girl make you overthink and jump at shadows. Mingcha's calming soup has been brewed for over 10 years. What problems could it possibly have?" Father Jiang was rendered speechless by Mother Jiang's retort. After a moment, he sighed. "Anyway, it's better to check it out." Next, Jiang Mingcha visited Jiang Minghui's company and Jiang Mingjuan's hospital. Finally, she delivered a thermos of nourishing soup to Jiang Mingxiu, and even the school-returning Jiang Xiaolu and Jiang Mingluo weren't spared, as she fed them a big bowl each. Only Jiang Mingxi wasn't in City A, but to Jiang Mingcha, whether Jiang Mingxi drinks it or not doesn't make much of a difference. After delivering the calming tea, she returned to the Jiang family and quietly waited for the effects of the calming soup. 2 flowers bloom, each representing a branch. Jiang Qianxia finally received Bai Yifu's reply. "It's goo powder," but he couldn't identify it. "It seems to be a love goo. However, the person he recommended is arriving soon and will be able to identify it clearly." So Jiang Qianxia asked Zhao Qiutong if there were any samples with added cooking wine. Zhao Qiutong immediately had someone deliver several samples. Coincidentally, when the samples arrived, the goo expert recommended by Bai Yifu also happened to arrive downstairs at the company. It was Zhao Qiutong's secretary who went to receive him. This master of goo techniques has the surname Miao and is named Miao Fei. His ancestors had some connections with the Miaojiang goo practitioners. Perhaps like it tracks like, his side job turns out to be as a singer in an underground rock band. After a brief introduction, he directly opened the sample, sniffed it, and frowned. Sniffing a few more times, he looked up and said with certainty and astonishment, "It's a love goo, and it's the long-lost enchantment goo from my ancestors. This type of goo is very special. Its effects increase with dosage. The emotions in this world are not limited to one kind. Friendship, familial love, romantic love, even compassion or admiration can be amplified by this enchantment goo. The most terrifying aspect of this goo poison is that, unless the person affected has absolutely no affection for the one who administered it, it is impossible to guard against." After hearing Niu Fei's words, Zhao Qiutong felt a wave of nausea and incomprehension. "So, you're saying that all those affected by the goo poison have feelings for Jing Xiaoyuan?" Niu Fei quickly explained, "That's not entirely the case. This type of goo poison has another characteristic. If used in large quantities, as long as the person doesn't feel absolute hatred, it will turn into a true love goo, causing them to become madly infatuated with the one who administered it, both physically and emotionally." Upon hearing this, Zhao Qiutong's expression slightly improved. Although she and Jing Xiaoyuan were already divorced, the thought that those affected by his goo poison might genuinely have some degree of affection for him still made her feel sick. "Then how do we break this kind of goo?" Zhao Qiutong asked anxiously. Niu Fei took out his phone. "I need to ask my grandmother." Although he also studied goo techniques, it wasn't his specialty after all. His grandmother was the expert. As soon as Niu Fei's grandmother heard about it, she immediately said she would come over in person to assess the situation. Although when recognizing the bewitching goo, Niu Fei had already guessed that his grandmother would come personally, he still felt a bit uneasy. Zhao Qiutong, being very perceptive, offered to arrange for someone to pick up the elderly lady. Immediately, Niu Fei breathed a sigh of relief. He was not like Bai Yifu, that kid, who not only had a sect supporting him but also the Bai family. His mystic arts are not the kind that quickly make money, like feng shui, fortune-telling, or ghost-catching. At the very least, arranging a plane to pick up grandma is beyond his capabilities. He expressed his thanks to Zhao Qiutong. When Zhao Qiutong said it was unnecessary, he earnestly replied, "Although I came here at someone else's request, just the information about the love-bewitching goo is enough for me to feel indebted to you. I should be the one thanking you." As he spoke, Niu Fei performed a ceremonial gesture from his family toward Jiang Qianxia and Zhao Qiutong. Jiang Qianxia and Zhao Qiutong looked at each other in dismay. Since breaking the curse required the presence of the person who cast it, Zhao Qiutong came up with a plan. Jiang Jing Xiaoyuan tricked her into coming to his company. Recently, Jing Xiaoyuan's confidence had inflated to the point where he believed himself to be an unparalleled heartthrob, doubling his level of obnoxiousness. He actually thought Zhao Qiutong sought him out to rekindle their relationship. Therefore, he put on airs, dressed up slowly, pacified a few of his admirers, and strutted into the Zhao headquarters with his nose in the air. Seeing the tardy Jing Xiaoyuan, Zhao Qiutong rolled her eyes. But on second thought, it was just as well he came late. Niu Fei's grandmother was about to land. There was no need to tangle with this greasy freeloader for too long. She got straight to the point. "I already know about you casting a spell at my party." Jing Xiaoyuan, who had been smugly waiting for Zhao Qiutong to ask for reconciliation, was stunned. Hearing the words party, he felt a moment of guilt, then quickly became puzzled. He scrutinized Zhao Qiutong for a moment, then glanced at Jiang Qianxia beside her. His gaze couldn't help but show amazement as he smiled and said, "So, both of you have fallen for me?" As he spoke, he smugly ran his fingers through his hair, thinking he looked dashing. "However, the people chasing after me now line up from the south of the city to the north. As for you two," seeing him actually start to seriously consider it, Zhao Qiutong rolled up her sleeves in anger and kicked him twice. One kick changed his expression, and the other landed on the back of his knee, forcing him to kneel. Jing Xiaoyuan was caught off guard, let out a cry of pain, and was then restrained by Zhao Qiutong's bodyguards, who also gagged him. Jing Xiaoyuan panicked and let out a woo-woo-woo sound. However, Zhao Qiutong didn't spare him a glance, instead apologizing to Jiang Qianxia, feeling deeply embarrassed. Jiang Qianxia shook her head. Then, Zhao Qiutong recounted the matter of the love-bewitching goo to Jing Xiaoyuan. She signaled the bodyguards to restrain him, and only after confirming he wouldn't dare resist again did she ask once more, "Who gave you the love-bewitching goo?" Unexpectedly, Jing Xiaoyuan first showed anger, then fear, and finally a puzzled expression. Zhao Qiutong raised her hand, signaling signaling the bodyguard to release his mouth. As soon as his mouth was free, Jing Xiaoyuan immediately started cursing at Zhao Choutong, only to be kicked by her so hard that tears streamed down his face, almost causing him to lose everything. He finally quieted down, his eyes red, his neck stiff as he said, "I don't know anything about the love bewitching goo. Stop spouting nonsense and falsely accusing me." Zhao Choutong let out a cold laugh. "You don't know what the love bewitching goo is? Then why are countless wealthy people in a city going crazy over you? What are they after? The fact that you don't bathe, your thinning hair, or that you look like aged cured meat? Or is it that old daisy of yours?" The humiliation from his ex-wife made Jing Xiaoyuan's face flush red. He stubbornly retorted, "That's because you don't know how to appreciate it. They have good taste. A man at 30 is like a blossoming flower. The older, the more attractive. You women just can't understand that." Zhao Choutong listened, not the least bit angry, and sneered, "Oh? Then aren't you afraid that once the love charm loses its effect, those people will come after you for revenge? As far as I know, if you don't use it a second time within 7 days, it will lose its effect, right? If I lock you up until after 7 days and then let you out, do you think they'll tear you apart alive?" Jing Xiaoyuan's body stiffened, and he exclaimed in shock and uncertainty, What? Seeing that Zhao Choutong didn't seem to be lying, Jing Xiaoyuan thought about the benefits he'd gained from those people over the past 2 days, and cold sweat began to pour down his back. "However, I really don't know anything about the love charm." Niao Fei, standing nearby, timely explained the effects of the love charm to him. Realizing that all the described effects matched the situation he encountered, Jing Xiaoyuan panicked and no longer concealed the truth. "But what I clearly used was a paralysis drug." At that moment, Jiang Qianxia received a phone call. The Jiang family had all been paralyzed. The call was from Jiang Mingxiu. He is one of the only 2 lucky survivors of the Jiang family. At the moment, he is busy playing a cameo role on set, and the thermos was delivered directly here. The investor of this drama happens to be the second young master of the Wan family, Jiang Mingxiu's former friend and now his sworn enemy. It is said that the thermos was sent by his beloved younger sister. Jiang Mingxiu, being a hopeless sister con, naturally understood the situation. The second young master of the Wan family was also aware of this connection and helped him drink a cup. Unfortunately, this dragged both him and the Jiang family into the turmoil. The rest of the Jiang family members were each preoccupied. The fifth sibling, Jiang Mingxi, went out to relax after getting dental work done due to tooth problems. The eldest brother of the Jiang family, upon hearing halfway through drinking that something had happened at home, ended up paralyzed from the waist down. The rest of the family members all fell one by one, their fists dropping, leaving only their eyes still moving. Just as Jiang Mingxi was wondering if the issue was with the chicken, Jiang Qianxia directly hung up the phone. A few seconds later, the phone rang again. In fact, this time Jiang Mingxiu didn't fully trust Jiang Qianxia. He was merely preserving the dignity of his younger sister, which he had upheld for many years, though he remained stubborn at heart. It was only after hanging up that he realized he had never been so resolute in trusting Jiang Qianxia before. As soon as the call connected, he was afraid Jiang Qianxia might hang up again, so he hurriedly said, "Qianxia, I'm sorry. It was my fault before. I'll change from now on. I understand why you're angry, but the family is in chaos right now. Can you come back for a bit?" Jiang Qianxia was surprised to find that Jiang Mingxiu was actually admitting his mistake, but it was all too late. Many things couldn't return to the way they were just by admitting fault. The hurt had gone on for too long. Whether she was the original owner or not, the one truly hurt was the 18-year-old Jiang Qianxia. As for the Jiang family, Jiang Qianxia let out a cold laugh. "The Jiang family is a mess. Why are you looking for me? Aren't you afraid I'll laugh out loud in their faces and make them die of anger?" This time, she was telling the truth. Unexpectedly, Jiang Mingxiu didn't explode with anger but instead froze, muttering, "You wouldn't. Qianxia, you're just saying that out of anger, right?" Without waiting for Jiang Qianxia to respond, he added, "It's okay. It's fine if you don't come back. I just wanted to let you know." Jiang Mingxiu hung up the phone as if he'd lost his soul. Jiang Qianxia suddenly remembered that summer when she was 18. The boy's face, both unfamiliar and familiar, carried a carefree smile she rarely saw, but that smile disappeared the moment he saw her. "Hey, third young master Jiang, your ugly duckling sister is waiting for you over there. My mom said you two are twins. If you get tanned, will you be just as ugly? Get lost. I only have Mingcha as my sister." The young man spoke, kicked the person who teased him, and didn't even bother to turn around to look at the few slightly reserved girls. The memory lasted only a few seconds, but Jiang Qianxia seemed to feel the girl's helplessness, embarrassment, and sadness. However, thinking about it now, there was a strange sense of detachment. Most importantly, at that time, the girl thought the whole world had abandoned her. But now, she understands that she still has much better love. Whether the Jiang family regrets it or not is no longer important. Putting away her phone, Jiang Qianxia looked at Jing Xiaoyuan, who was being cornered by Zhao Choutong, and lightly coughed. "Maybe I know what's going on." Hearing this, everyone turned to look at her. Jiang Qianxia briefly explained the incident of someone setting a trap and taking down the whole family. Jing Xiaoyuan was initially surprised and delighted. Yes, that's exactly what I did." As soon as he finished speaking, he noticed the murderous look in his ex-wife's eyes and realized he had inadvertently confessed this time. Jing Xiaoyuan quickly swallowed hard and nervously looked at Zhao Choutong to explain. I just wanted to help you. You wanted them to have an accident, so I helped save them. In the future." He stopped mid-sentence, suddenly realizing his face had turned pale. Wait, if the paralysis drug has an antidote, then, the love-inducing goo they mentioned, is real too? So, those people's sudden change was really because of the love-inducing goo, and not his damn charm. It's over. Imagine the reaction of those people when they wake up and realize he was the one who cast the love spell. Jing Xiaoyuan's scalp tingled, his face pale, as he looked at Zhao Choutong. "Choutong." He scrambled and grabbed her pant leg. "Choutong, for the sake of us being husband and wife, save me." Choutong. Thinking about how she had once shared a bed with such a person, Zhao Choutong couldn't bear it anymore. She rolled her eyes and kicked him flying. Just then, the office door was opened from the outside. Before the person arrived, enthusiastic yet clumsy Chinese echoed first. "Dear Joe, I brought you desserts again." A mysterious object came hurtling toward him, and Edmund quickly raised raised the dessert box, narrowly avoiding the collision. When he saw the true nature of the object, his expression turned slightly cold, revealing a look far from the gullible demeanor he showed in front of Zhao Choutong. Jing Xiaoyuan instinctively shrank back in fear, but soon, he reacted, raised his head to glare angrily at Zhao Choutong, and gritted his teeth. You, Before the words were finished, Edmund unintentionally stepped on his fingers. With his tall and sturdy build, the moment he stepped down, a miserable scream erupted, sounding like a pig. This sharp cry made Edmund pause for a moment, then he ran to Zhao Choutong's side, pretending to be aggrieved. Xiao, why is your dead ex-husband here? Are you okay? Zhao Choutong watched as the tall Edmund switched into drama king mode, her lips twitching uncontrollably. Seeing him almost make Jing Xiaoyuan cough up blood in anger, she couldn't help but smile, though she quickly concealed it. While instructing the bodyguards to drag Jing Xiaoyuan aside, she patiently explained, you can't use dead like that. Edmund looked aggrieved. But don't you Huagua people have a saying, the best ex should be like their dead? Suddenly, he seemed to have an epiphany. Oh, so he's not good enough. He can't die. Jing Xiaoyuan hadn't been completely dragged out yet, and he was so furious that he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Jiang Qianxia couldn't help but burst into laughter. Cough, cough. Not long after, Niao Fei's grandmother finally arrived. The elderly lady was petite, with white hair and no teeth left, but she walked with an imposing air, much like a priestess from a TV drama. When she saw the group, she squinted her eyes first and sized up Jiang Qianxia. This child of yours has a rather peculiar fate, but fortune is turning in your favor. Jiang Qianxia was taken aback. You can read faces? The old lady's already small eyes disappeared when she smiled. She waved her hand. I can't see it. My Aga told me. After speaking, she turned to look at her grandson and asked about the bewitching goo. Niao Fei handed the sample to his grandmother and quickly turned back to explain to Jiang Qianxia. Miss Jiang, please don't mind. The Aga my grandmother mentioned is her lifebound goo. In our lineage, from the moment of birth, a lifebound goo is chosen. When we live, it lives. When we die, it dies along with us. Even when we are buried, the lifebound goo is placed in the coffin with us. My grandmother is 80 years old, and her lifebound goo has also lived for 80 years. Now, it can sense certain people's life destinies. Jiang Qianxia nodded, indicating she didn't mind, and her gaze shifted to Niao's grandmother. Grandma Niao, after receiving the sample, did not sniff it directly like Niao Fei. Instead, she slowly searched her body and eventually found a thumb-sized bamboo tube. She carefully opened the bamboo tube, and a small black and gold insect crawled out. Her hands trembling slightly, she connected the bamboo tube to the sample vial, her movements slow and unsteady. Niao Fei had already retreated, far away, and the others dared not approach. Clearly, this was the legendary goo insect, and everyone felt a sense of fear in their hearts. Jiang Qianxia felt her scalp tingle upon seeing the goo insect. The insect exuded an aura of dominance. No, it must be some kind of goo king, which indicated that Grandma Niao was no ordinary person. Time ticked by. Grandma Niao's conclusion came much slower than Niao Fei's. She murmured goo goo goo, seemingly whispering to the goo insect, but no one could understand her. About 10 minutes later, she finally separated the two tubes. After casually setting the sample vial aside, she carefully returned the goo insect to its bamboo tube. Niao Fei hurried forward to support Grandma Niao. Grandma Niao waved her hand and sat down nearby, giving everyone a kind smile. Getting old. As she spoke, she no longer hesitated and directly took out a package from the other side of her pocket, handing it to Zhao Choutong. This, give it to the person who is cursed or the one who cast the curse, and it will lift the curse. Zhao Choutong was momentarily stunned but then gratefully accepted the antidote. Thank you. Although those people causing trouble for the Zhao family hadn't truly threatened her, being bitten by mosquitoes was always annoying, so resolving the curse sooner was naturally much better. Zhao Choutong immediately had the bodyguards bring Jing Xiaoyuan over. She personally held him down and forced the antidote into his mouth. Jing Xiaoyuan guessed that this was the antidote and resisted desperately, but in the end, he was outnumbered and was forcibly made to swallow it by the bodyguards. Afterward, he recalled the consequences for those people once they regained consciousness and was so frightened that he fainted on the spot. After having Jing Xiaoyuan carried away, Zhao Choutong suggested expressing her gratitude to Granny Niao. However, Granny Niao waved her hand and repeated what Niao Fei had said earlier. It turned out that the reason she had delayed for so long was to confirm whether the person who cast the curse was a traitor from her lineage. Now that it was confirmed, she intended to capture the traitor and execute them, and the clue to the traitor was in Jing Xiaoyuan's possession. Zhao Choutong pondered for a moment and proposed waiting until Jing Xiaoyuan woke up, offering temporary protection in exchange for the clue about the traitor. Unexpectedly, during the wait, Granny Niao received another call for help. The sound from the old-fashioned phone was loud enough that Jiang Qianxia could hear the conversation on the other end. If her guess was correct, the family mentioned in the call who had collapsed was none other than the Jiang family. This inevitably made one wonder whether their luck was good or bad, as it was astonishing that someone from the mystical sect had recognized their curse so quickly and sought help from Granny Niao. Moreover, Granny Niao had been brought to City A by Zhao Choutong. After some thought, Jiang Qianxia decided to inform Zhao Choutong and follow Granny Niao there. She was indeed curious about the Jiang family's curse. Considering Jing Xiaoyuan's confident claim that he had used a paralysis drug, it wasn't hard to deduce that the person who gave Jiang Mingcha the cursed drug from Jing Xiaoyuan might have made a mistake. So, earlier, was it actually a love-inducing goo that Jiang Mingcha used? On the way, Jiang Qianxia, out of curiosity, asked Granny Niao some questions. Seeing that Jiang Qianxia wasn't afraid of her, Granny Niao was happy to answer. Soon, they arrived at the hospital where the Jiang family members were. Coincidentally, it was also the hospital where Jiang Air was. He was the first to seek medical attention because he had collapsed in his office. When Jiang Qianxia arrived at the hospital, she happened to run into Jiang Mingxi, who had hurried back. Seeing Jiang Qianxia at the hospital as well, Jiang Mingxi's expression was momentarily a bit stunned. However, he didn't say anything, just silently slowed his pace and followed Jiang Qianxia and her group into the elevator. After entering the elevator, he noticed Grandma Niu and Niu Fei, curiously glancing at them a few times before finally asking, "Who are they?" Jiang Qianxia didn't spare him a glance. Jiang Mingxi. He lowered his head and took out his phone. A moment later, as the elevator doors opened, Jiang Qianxia's phone suddenly rang. Alipay account credited with 100,000 yuan. In an instant, all eyes inside and outside the elevator focused on her. Jiang Qianxia was momentarily stunned, then quickly checked her phone. A radiant smile spread across her face as she turned to Jiang Mingxi and said, "They are the assistants of the metaphysics master invited by the Jiang family." Jiang Mingxi. Could this situation get any more bizarre? Previously, he broke a tooth, intending to go out for a walk to clear his materialistic mind. He had only been away for a few days, and the situation at home had already escalated to this point. Moreover, he glanced at Jiang Qianxia, who seemed completely indifferent, and his mood instantly became complicated. As everyone stepped out of the elevator, they were greeted by Jiang Mingxiu. He saw Jiang Qianxia smiling at Jiang Mingxi, and a wave of bitterness surged in his heart. Doesn't she dislike the Jiang family? Why does she act so gentle toward Xiaowu? Clearly, Xiaowu is the coldest one in the family. No, Xiaowu is the only one who treats her and Mingxia equally. He suddenly remembered the last family dinner when Jiang Qianxia gave Xiaowu a fountain pen. It seemed they truly had a twin-like telepathic connection. Immediately, his expression softened considerably. He cleared his throat lightly. "Qianxia, you're here?" However, knowing Jiang Qianxia's attitude toward him, he quickly turned to Granny Niu and her companions to greet them. Jiang Mingxi noticed Jiang Mingxi's change and couldn't help but lean closer to Jiang Qianxia, asking in a low voice, "Does everyone now know Jiang Mingxia's true colors and are ready to accept you? Are you planning to go back home?" Jiang Qianxia gave him a faint glance, then took a step back. Jiang Mingxi touched his nose and muttered softly, "Is it really this expensive?" However, he quickly suppressed his curiosity and followed Grandma Niu and the others to the ward. Jiang Qianxia originally didn't want to see the Jiang family, but her innate curiosity made her unable to resist following them inside. Upon entering the ward, Jiang Qianxia's eyes lit up. Don't mention it. The Jiang family lined up neatly in a row, quite pleasing to the eye. There are a few. 1, 2, 3. The Jiang family members, who hadn't known she was there, were so furious upon hearing her voice that their eyes rolled wildly. Seeing her still counting, their eye-rolling intensified even more. Old Madam Jiang, Father Jiang, Mother Jiang, second brother Jiang, and the 9-year-old little sixth Jiang stood in a row, with Jiang Minghui sitting in a wheelchair beside them. Jiang Qianxia glanced at the lower half of the Jiang family's eldest brother, whose face was as cold as frozen ice. Oh, right, he didn't finish drinking it. Why is there one more? She involuntarily looked toward the last bed and was shocked to find that the person lying there wasn't the one who had stolen Jiang Mingxiu's calming soup, Wan Ershio, but Jiang Mingxia. Did she knock herself out in an attempt to prove her innocence? Oh, so, she thought she was using a love-inducing poison, but didn't realize she grabbed the wrong one? Pfft. Her tone was light and cheerful, and to top it off, there was even a playful pfft at the end, which almost made the Jiang family members' eyes pop out in anger. Jiang Minghui's face was cold as he looked at Jiang Qianxia's barely concealed schadenfreude, feeling a sharp pain between his brows. He glanced at the people on the hospital bed, took a deep breath, and signaled to Jiang Mingxiu to take Jiang Qianxia out. He was worried that if Jiang Qianxia complained a few more times, the family wouldn't be poisoned to death but would die of anger first. However, Jiang Qianxia waved her hand and said righteously, "After all, we're family. Since I'm already here, even if I can't help everyone, at least I can stay and show my sincerity. Hey, since I'm already here, the drama is so juicy that I can't finish it all by myself. I'm not leaving, not leaving." The Jiang family members collapsed on the bed. "Get lost, rebellious girl." Unfortunately, they can only move their eyeballs. Jiang Minghui can speak, but he sighed, as if he had suffered a heavy blow, his shoulders drooping. He turned his head and looked at Jiang Mingxia, who was also lying limp on the bed, his gaze darkening. Mingxia did drink a bowl of calming soup to prove her innocence, and her shock before collapsing indeed didn't seem like she was lying. This indicates that she also didn't know there was a paralyzing drug in the calming soup. But what exactly is the love-inducing goo? What if Mingxia really took the wrong medicine, as Chen Xia said? Then, why would she harm the whole family? What is the reason? The Jiang family raised her, even neglecting their own biological child for her. Is that still not enough? What else does she want? Is it really, as Jiang Qianxia's inner thoughts revealed, that she harbors different intentions toward the Jiang family's company? Jiang Minghui slid his wheelchair to the bedside of Jiang Mingxia, quietly observing the sister he once cherished to the core. Seemingly sensing Jiang Minghui's approach, Jiang Mingxia's eyes darted frantically, followed by 2 tears rolling down. Jiang Minghui instinctively wanted to reach out his hand but stopped midair. At this moment, Granny Niu's aged voice sounded in his ear. "Found it." Jiang Minghui withdrew his hand in astonishment, looking puzzled at the metaphysics master invited by Madame Jiang. Originally, he didn't believe in any kind of voodoo. However, when the hospital couldn't figure out the cause of the Jiang family's paralysis, he had no choice but to grasp at straws. But this elderly woman with silver-white hair, pacing mysteriously around the ward and then pointing at Jiang Mingxia. What does this mean? Could it be that she can actually find the source of the poisoning? However, in the next second, Granny Niu's words exploded in his ears like a thunderclap. The mother goo of the enchantment goo is inside her. What enchantment goo? Wasn't it taken by mistake? Why is there still a mother goo? This is the question lingering in the hearts of everyone in the Jiang family. At this moment, Jiang Qianxia's inner voice timely resolved their confusion. Wow, a ruthless person. I remember Jing Xiaoyuan didn't even need the mother goo to make the wealthy of City go crazy for him, yet Jiang Mingxia actually consumed the mother goo? Wait a minute, Jiang Mingxia is so bold to drink the calming soup herself because she thought the soup contained the passion goo? Hiss. Is she trying to make the entire Jiang family fall in love with her? Glancing at Jiang Mingluo lying on the hospital bed, Jiang Qianxia couldn't help but frown. Even 9-year-old Jiang Mingluo isn't spared, that's just two. The amount of information was overwhelming, and for a moment, everyone in the Jiang family felt a tingling sensation on their scalps, unable to react. However, Granny Niu didn't give them time to respond. She gestured for Jiang Minghui to step aside a bit, then approached Jiang Mingcha. Now, I will extract the mother goo from your body. Jiang Mingcha could only move one eyeball. When she heard the words love bewitching goo, she was initially a bit confused. It wasn't until she caught sight of an old, peculiar-looking woman standing in front of her that she suddenly realized. Love bewitching goo. The powder that person gave her was goo powder. Feeling her eyelids being pried open and her arms being manipulated, she was so terrified that her eyeballs darted around frantically, yet she couldn't struggle free at all. After a while, the old lady seemed to feed her something. She desperately clenched her mouth shut, but it was futile. A slippery object slid down her throat. What the old lady said next frightened her out of her wits. The mother goo burrows deep into the flesh and blood, always using the goo as bait to draw it out. What mother goo? What using goo? Could the thing she was just fed be a goo worm? Ugh. Jiang Mingcha wanted to vomit, but her body completely refused to obey. She could only frantically roll her eyes, tears streaming down in pain. Even more terrifying, she felt an itch spreading all over her body, though she wasn't sure if it was just an illusion. It wasn't on the surface of her skin, but inside her blood vessels, as if there were really bugs crawling within. Suddenly, she felt liquid flowing out of her nose. Just as she was about to feel ashamed and angry, her scalp suddenly tingled. That wasn't snot. It was some kind of bug crawling out of her nostril. Aha! Jiang Mingcha's eyes turned red from the breakdown, but she had taken the paralysis drug and couldn't move, forced to endure the horror of insects crawling out of her nostrils. Her miserable state was naturally conveyed to the collapsed members of the Jiang family through Jiang Qianxia's inner voice. For a moment, everyone wanted to vomit, yet they couldn't, their entire bodies paralyzed and immobile. However, the one who was most devastated was still Jiang Mingcha. Finally, the bug in her nose was removed by the old woman. She hadn't recovered yet, feeling utterly disgusted when she heard the old woman expose the things she had done to the Jiang family over the years. No, she could explain. She didn't know it was a love spell bug either. Ah, shut up. Jiang Mingcha desperately widened her eyes, trying to make a sound, but she couldn't even open her mouth, only managing a few muffled mmm noises. She was completely unable to stop the old woman from continuing to speak, and ultimately, overwhelmed by shock, she failed to catch her breath and fainted on the spot. Seeing her faint, Jiang Minghui cast a cold glance at her. After hearing the effects of the bewitching goo, the last trace of pity in his heart completely vanished. He withdrew his gaze and continued to ask Granny Niu in a deep voice about the matter of breaking the love spell. It was said that over the years, Jiang Mingcha had been casting love spells on the entire family, amplifying their affection for her. Jiang Mingshu looked incredulously at the unconscious Jiang Mingcha. Why? He thought of the bug that had crawled out of Mingcha's body earlier, and a wave of disgust instantly surged in his heart. Why would Mingcha do this? Wasn't everyone's affection for her already enough? Does she still want everyone to be obsessed with her? Looking at the people collapsed on the hospital bed, Jiang Mingshu's heart was filled with pain, shock, and deep confusion. He crouched beside Jiang Minghui's wheelchair, looking up, clutching his head in despair, his voice trembling. Big brother, why would she do this? Did we wrong her? Big brother? Jiang Mingshu's bewildered and devastated expression made Jiang Minghui's gaze darken like an abyss. After a long while, Jiang Minghui finally sighed and said softly, I don't know either. In fact, ever since Jiang Qianxia visited his office last time, he had noticed Jiang Mother's strange attitude toward her two daughters and vaguely felt that something was amiss. He originally thought that Mingcha's actions were merely small tricks to buy for favor in private. After all, she was the younger sister he had doted on since childhood. Even when he noticed her little schemes, he never reproached her too harshly. He never expected her to be so ruthless as to cast a curse on the entire family, just to make the entire Jiang family, including him, favor her even more. She cast a curse on the whole family. If it weren't for the curse, Jiang Minghui couldn't help but glance at Jiang Qianxia, who looked completely indifferent on the side. She truly didn't care at all. Even when she heard Granny Niu mention that the love bewitching curse amplifies the affection in people's hearts, there wasn't the slightest ripple in her expression. Even though she secretly complained in her heart, she had no regrets, as the love bewitching goo made her unaccepted by her family. She was like an outsider, carrying a hint of curiosity, quietly watching the people in the hospital room. Even Jiang Mingshu, who was so devastated that his eyes were bloodshot, she calmly critiqued in her heart. She heard him say to himself in his heart that he looked ugly when he cried. Jiang Mingshu stiffened slightly, then couldn't help but look at Jiang Qianxia, only to find that her face, so similar to his own, bore only indifference and aloofness. For no apparent reason, Jiang Mingshu felt a pang in his heart. He clearly realized that Jiang Qianxia was indeed his twin sister. Yet because of Jiang Mingcha who cursed the entire family, he had pushed her so far away. He couldn't help but look at Jiang Minghui and asked anxiously, Big brother, if we mistreated Qianxia before because of the enchantment goo, then now that there's no enchantment goo, I don't know either. Before Jiang Mingshu could finish speaking, Jiang Minghui interrupted him in advance. Seeing Jiang Mingshu collapse once again, his heart grew heavy. Since childhood, he had been held to high expectations. As the eldest son of the Jiang family, he took over the entire family business and seemed to handle everything with ease. This was the first time in his life he had encountered such a moment of confusion. The first time he realized he was so terribly wrong. He clearly noticed something unusual and sensed Mingcha's thoughts, yet he still neglected them. As a result, the once harmonious family ended up in such a tragic situation. It was his fault. Grandma Niu finished checking the condition of the Jiang family members and then went next door to examine the unlucky second young master of the Wan family. After confirming that the bewitching goo only appeared on the Jiang family members, Grandma Niu stated that she could save everyone, but she had one condition. Jiang Minghui forced himself to stay alert. As long as you can save us, any condition is acceptable. Grandma Niu's cloudy eyes lifted slightly, and she pointed at the unconscious Jiang Mingcha. The person who cast the bewitching goo on her is a traitor from my clan. I want information about the traitor. In order to save everyone, Jiang Minghui had no choice but to agree. In front of Granny Niu, he called his assistant and instructed him to investigate the people Jiang Mingcha had come into contact with. Seeing his willingness to cooperate, Granny Niu's expression softened a bit. I don't have the antidote ready. It will take 3 days to prepare. I hope there will be news by then. Jiang Minghui's eyes darkened slightly. Of course, I'll count on you for this. After Granny Niu left, Jiang Minghui instinctively wanted to look for Jiang Qianxia's figure, only to find that she was no longer in the ward. Noticing her silent departure, Jiang Minghui felt a surge of inexplicable loss in his heart. However, when he wheeled himself to the corridor, he unexpectedly saw the metaphysics master invited by Madame Jiang genuinely persuading Jiang Qianxia to become his apprentice. Jiang Minghui was momentarily stunned, then smiled bitterly. So it turned out, Jiang Qianxia truly had a talent for metaphysics. The Jiang family mistakenly took a fisheye for a pearl. He slid his wheelchair and came before the two. When the metaphysics master saw him approach, he showed none of the aloofness he had before Jiang Qianxia arrived. Instead, he enthusiastically grabbed his wheelchair and pushed him in front of Jiang Qianxia. Young Master Jiang, come, persuade this girl from your family. Although my Songshan sect is not one of the top metaphysical sects, it has profound heritage. Before he could finish speaking, Jiang Qianxia let out a soft sigh. Sorry, actually Jingyi sect, Tiangang sect, and Disha sect have all invited me, but I really don't have any plans to join a sect for now. The middle-aged man instantly widened his eyes, and after confirming the seriousness in Jiang Qianxia's gaze, he finally sighed. Alright, a golden scale is not an ordinary thing in the pond. I thought I could get lucky. Forget it. If you can't be my disciple, at least add me on WeChat, okay? Thus, the metaphysics master left contentedly with Jiang Qianxia's WeChat. Nearby, Jiang Mingxu had somehow caught up, staring in shock and blinking in disbelief. So Jiang Qianxia is really a metaphysics genius? His question received no response, but he didn't care. The next second, a sense of loss swept over him. Alright, he was just too naive. Judging from the demeanor of that master just now, Jiang Qianxia's talent is definitely extraordinary. Moreover, if he remembered correctly, Jiang Qianxia had just arrived together with Granny Niu. This means she had long since met many extraordinary people they could never reach. After leaving the Jiang family, her life seemed to get better and better. For some reason, this thought made Jiang Mingxu feel a pang of bitterness in his heart, and he couldn't help but wonder, if it weren't for Jiang Mingcha's curse, would the relationship between Jiang Qianxia and the Jiang family? As he thought about it, Jiang Mingxu wanted to step forward and say a few words to her, but then he noticed Jiang Qianxia's phone ringing. She turned around to answer the phone, a relaxed smile appearing on her face that he had never seen before. Jiang Mingxu stood frozen in place, watching helplessly as Jiang Qianxia cheerfully conversed with the person on the other end of the call, then waved and left. Crash! The sound of a wheelchair echoed beside him. Jiang Mingxu turned back and looked at Jiang Minghui, who wore the same desolate expression. He said softly, "Big brother, after this matter is over, we need to properly make it up to Qianxia." Jiang Minghui shook his head. "I'm afraid she no longer needs it." Jiang Mingxu's eyes reddened as he watched Jiang Qianxia's figure completely disappear around the corner, murmuring softly, "But we were under a spell before." Receiving Sitayu's call, Jiang Qianxia suddenly realized that she had been so engrossed in gossip today that she completely forgot about the passage of time. On the other end of the phone, the little one sweetly called out, "Mommy, we're waiting for you to eat." Jiang Qianxia couldn't help but laugh, her heart filled with warmth. She didn't even have time to greet the Jiang family before hurrying back home. When she got home, the little one was sitting at a small desk, fully absorbed in drawing something. Meanwhile, Satuyu, who was supposed to be busy in the study, was working on the sofa instead, seemingly to accompany the little one, or perhaps waiting for her return. Hearing her footsteps, the father and son both looked up at the same time. The little one beamed with a bright smile, while the adult had a faint smile on his face. This heartwarming scene made Jiang Qianxia's heart tremble. Such a beautiful moment. If only it could last forever. Realizing the trace of regret in her heart, Jiang Qianxia immediately adjusted her emotions, regained her smile, and walked over to Sidong Xiaoya to see what he was drawing. When she looked down, she saw a warm picture of a family of 3. Seeing his mom come over, the little one excitedly handed her a colored crayon, playfully blinked, and used his small hand to guide hers, lightly adding half a heart to the left side of the drawing. After finishing, he happily smiled at Jiang Qianxia, swinging his little feet, and softly called out to the focused Sidong Yu, "Daddy." Jiang Qianxia thought to herself, "Little one, with your voice so soft, it's no wonder your workaholic dad can't hear you." Suddenly, Sitayu stood up and walked over. Under Jiang Qianxia's surprised gaze, he added the other half of the heart to the drawing. Just like that, the family of 3 was warmly enclosed within a single heart. Sitayu saw the little one hesitating to speak and asked softly, "What else do you want to do?" The little guy looked at his dad, then at his mom, stretched out his small hand, and tapped 5 points under the tip of the heart, articulating clearly, "Forever together." His tender voice made the 2 adults exchange glances, their eyes filled with indescribable emotions. Jiang Qianxia's mind was flooded with countless moments when Sitayu had made her heart race. In the morning, she frequently ran into him returning from the gym, and every time she turned around, she would always see him quietly waiting behind her. She understood that Sitayu had feelings for her, but deep down, she felt a faint sense of unease. Just as Sitayu was nervously and expectantly preparing to speak, a soft, childlike voice suddenly interrupted her thoughts. "Daddy, does mommy not know how to write either?" The little one looked at the proud painting in front of him with distress. The 2 adults coughed simultaneously, breaking the awkward silence. "Ahem, Xiaoyi, are you planning to write these words here?" Jiang Qianxia withdrew her gaze, pretending nothing had happened, and pointed to the spot the little one had just indicated. The little guy nodded obediently, yes. Jiang Qianxia picked up the pen and gently wrote the words, "Together forever," underneath. As she stood up, she suddenly realized the meaning of the painting, and her cheeks instantly turned red. The little one grew more and more satisfied as he looked at it, pointing to the mom in the painting and laughingly saying, "Mom." Then he pointed to the dad in the painting, dad. Finally, he pointed to himself, baby. Afterward, he raised both hands high and drew a big heart in the air, earnestly looking at Jiang Qianxia and Situyu, together forever. The little one's eyes sparkled like stars, lighting up Jiang Qianxia's heart. The painting was framed and placed on the small desk shared by the father and son. For some reason, the warmth of this home felt increasingly real. In the middle of the night, Jiang Qianxia went downstairs to get some water. As she passed by the small desk, she couldn't help but zone out under the moonlight. What she didn't know was that the two on the other side had also stopped in their tracks. The next day, Jiang Qianxia and Situyu took the little one to kindergarten together, and then received a call from Zhao Choutong. This time, it wasn't trouble but specifically to deliver good news. Yesterday, after Granny Niu lifted the infatuation goo spell from Jing Xiaoyuan, everyone who had been under the spell regained their senses. Upon waking up, the first thing they did was apologize to the Zhao family, and the second was to search the entire city for Jing Xiaoyuan. Especially the person who forced Zhao Choutong to divorce Jing Xiaoyuan almost knelt at the entrance of Zhao Enterprises, begging for her forgiveness. As for Zhao Choutong, she naturally forgave them graciously, gaining a wave of goodwill in the process, and was even entrusted with important responsibilities by old master Zhao, freeing herself from a scumbag and advancing her career. Jiang Qianxia sincerely congratulated her. Congratulations, Zhao Choutong said gratefully. Qianxia, I really owe it all to you. You're simply my lucky star. Do you have time recently? I'd like to treat you to a meal to express my gratitude. Jiang Qianxia thought about her schedule for a moment and apologized. I'm afraid I can't do it recently. I've taken on a variety show and will start recording soon. Zhao Choutong could tell that Jiang Qianxia wasn't making excuses but was being sincere, so she firmly said, then I'll wait until you're done recording the show to make plans. You must come. Jiang Qianxia nodded. Alright, I'll definitely go then. After hanging up the phone, Jiang Qianxia met the man's thoughtful gaze. When does the variety show start? Jiang Qianxia was taken aback, realizing that the other person had heard what she just said. She was silent for a few seconds before softly replying, we leave tomorrow. Hearing this, a trace of disappointment flashed in the man's eyes, but he did not show it. Are your things ready? Jiang Qianxia was still concerned about the look in his eyes just now, and for some reason, she felt a bit flustered. She touched her nose and said awkwardly, not yet. The man's eyelids lifted slightly, but after hearing the latter part of her sentence, they lowered again. The latter part of her sentence was, however, my mom will help me prepare today. After speaking, Jiang Qianxia noticed that the man's gaze darkened again, and she inexplicably felt even more uneasy. She coughed lightly, gazing at the man before her. Beneath her frosty exterior, a hint of pitiable emotion emerged, like an abandoned puppy. You travel a lot, right? If you have time. The man suddenly looked up, his eyes lighting up. Jiang Qianxia, under the faint brightness of those eyes, mustered her courage and continued, could you help me take a look? Sure, the man replied quickly. After speaking, he couldn't help but curl his lips, his gaze growing brighter as he looked at Jiang Qianxia. Jiang Qianxia, help, why does the cold and aloof CEO suddenly seem like a little puppy wagging its tail? The worst part is me, I actually think he's so cute. Jiang Qianxia felt a bit helpless, wanting to cover her face but finding nowhere to hide. Beside her, Situyu seemed to have grasped her inner thoughts, and a peculiar glint flashed in his eyes. His ears warmed slightly as he thought to himself, this person, as long as she likes it, that's enough. When Jiang Qianxia met Lin Junya, there was an unexpected addition. Lin Junya, who had been full of joy, froze her smile instantly upon seeing the tall man beside her daughter, who looked like a bodyguard. This, she couldn't help but ask. Jiang Qianxia felt a bit awkward and thought to herself, I just wanted to comfort him, but he actually took it seriously, unhesitatingly turned down his work, and came to be her advisor. If she told him not to come, it would be embarrassing since he had already declined his job. If she let him come, it seemed a bit over the top. After all, she was just going to shoot a short-term variety show, and packing luggage was merely an excuse for women to go shopping. However, Situyu truly had a knack for it. The variety show schedule had already been set. It was a vacation on a hot island. Besides preparing suitable clothing, Jiang Qianxia also needed to pack some emergency medicines, mosquito repellent sprays, and other essentials. What was surprising was the unparalleled tacit understanding between Situyu and Lin Junya in these details. After shopping at the supermarket, Lin Junya's gaze towards Situyu was full of admiration. In contrast, Jiang Qianxia, the mama's boy, could only follow behind them, listening to their discussions about various preparations, yet still completely clueless. However, being so well taken care of feels really great. Lin Junya, knowing her daughter's personality, held on to Jiang Qianxia before parting, wanting to give her a few words of advice. At this moment, Situyu walked over. Don't worry, I'll write a checklist for Qianxia when I get home, so she won't forget, he said confidently. Lin Junya immediately praised, exactly, young people are so smart. Ayo, I'll leave Qianxia in your hands then. Situyu nodded respectfully, rest assured. Seeing Lin Junya becoming increasingly satisfied with Situyu, Jiang Qianxia felt a slight pang in her heart. Well, a mother-in-law looking at her son-in-law, the more she looks, the more satisfied she gets. With his back to her, Situyu suddenly stiffened, as if he had heard something. Pa, what mother-in-law and son-in-law? There's not even a hint of that yet. Jiang Qianxia, get a grip. Whether Jiang Qianxia was clear-headed or not, Situyu didn't know, but he was awakened by that shout in her heart. Perhaps the recent happiness had made him forget the contract between him and Qianxia. After bidding farewell to Lin Junya, Jiang Qianxia had one last task, comforting the little one. She hadn't yet told the child about going to film the variety show. After pondering for a while, she couldn't think of a good way, so she looked towards Situyu and found him surprisingly lost in thought, seemingly contemplating something. She couldn't help but be stunned. This is truly a rare sight of him. Forget it, I'll just think of something myself. Just as she was thinking, the man's gaze refocused on her and he said earnestly, Xiaoya actually understands everything. You just need to be honest. Jiang Qianxia's eyes involuntarily widened slightly. Clearly, when she had just asked him, he seemed lost in thought, yet unexpectedly, he could accurately know what she wanted to ask and provide an answer. Her almond-shaped eyes, like a startled kitten, instantly caught Situyu's attention. He couldn't help but reach out to lightly touch her her cheek, then immediately realized his action, hurriedly withdrew his hand, and cleared his throat. There's something dirty on your face. Xiaoya will probably want you to video call him every day. Jiang Qianxia was a bit dazed by this sudden action but quickly regained her composure. Really? Then I'll try my best. The two fell silent for a moment, but fortunately, they soon arrived at Situyu's company. He got out of the car, paused as he was about to close the door, reopened it, and hesitantly looked inside, his expression a bit uneasy. Do you want to go up and take a look? Jiang Qianxia was slightly startled upon hearing this, her heart wavering a little. Situyu had left the Situ family to establish this tech company on his own, a legend both in elite circles and within the industry. However, she still looked at him with some hesitation. Wouldn't that be inappropriate? And in what capacity would I go? Situyu's wife? Friend? Neither seems quite fitting, right? And when the contract expires? Jiang Qianxia lowered her head slightly, thinking, forget it. You're a future shareholder? What's wrong with that? Situyu suddenly said. Jiang Qianxia raised her head in astonishment, her heart shaken. Situyu continued to explain, regarding the last equity transaction, I wanted to try a different approach, but I need to ask if you're willing first, so I specifically brought you here today to inspect my company. She was momentarily stunned, then stared at him in disbelief. Are you saying you want to exchange shares of Yuri Technology for shares of my Jiang family? Situyu nodded. Yes, but it might not be an equal exchange, only 2%. Jiang Qianxia's eyes widened instantly. Situyu was about to explain but was interrupted by her inner monologue. Don't even mention exchanging 5% for 2%. Is Jiang Corporation stock worth it? Worth it? Worth it? With Yuri Technology's market value in the hundreds of billions, 2% of the shares, how much would the annual dividends be? You only regret not studying enough when you need it. I can't calculate it. No way. Jiang Qianxia, you can't be blinded by money. Stay calm. The next second, Jiang Qianxia gracefully stepped out of the car, cleared her throat lightly, and said firmly, since I'm here, I might as well take a look. Look. Hesitating for even one more second is disrespectful to money. Amused by her contrasting behavior, Situyu tried hard to suppress the corners of his mouth from curling up, deliberately waiting until she walked up to him before lifting his foot to lead the way. In the car, the driver observed the couple's interaction the entire time, feeling helpless. He used to think the boss was a rigid workaholic, but now that he's in love, he doesn't seem so cold anymore, though the public display of affection is a bit excessive. Ever since Situyu personally brought Jiang Qianxia into the company, the entire Yuri Technology was like a drop of water falling into a hot oil pan, instantly exploding. In a certain internal employee group, I heard the president brought an absolute beauty to the company. Is our president finally going to blossom like an iron tree? Definitely. Haven't you noticed our immediate boss has been smiling more lately? Looks like the president is getting criticized less often. I've seen that beauty. She's truly stunning. She and our president are a perfect match. But I heard that this beauty seems to be a future shareholder, here to inspect the company? TSK. You just don't get it. Doesn't the future lady boss count as a shareholder? Anyway, I don't care. I'm shipping them first as a sign of respect. Then I'll join in and ship them lightly too. Although he initially just wanted to invite Jiang Qianxia upstairs to take a look, Situyu still arranged for someone to guide her on a thorough inspection. Whether intentionally or unintentionally, the secretary assigned was precisely the one skilled at flattering. Under the secretary's guidance, Jiang Qianxia looked around, her heart filled with awe. Our president Yu is truly amazing. After taking a turn upstairs, he happened to encounter a break in the meeting. Situyu stood up and personally arranged for Jiang Qianxia to stay in his private lounge. His gaze swept over the company he had just inspected, and he couldn't help but feel a bit proud. With a slight curve of his lips, he asked, how is it? Jiang Qianxia instinctively responded, our president Yu is truly amazing. Situyu was momentarily stunned, then suddenly recalled the sycophant he had almost fired. A faint blush appeared on his handsome profile. Jiang Qianxia paused for a moment after speaking, but soon, she smiled again and said sincerely, very nice. I also really like this environment. The company overall leans towards a younger vibe, and the work atmosphere is very positive and uplifting. Definitely not that kind of lifeless feeling. I heard that the benefits at Yuri Technology are great. Is that true? Upon hearing this, Situyu's eyes revealed a hint of delight. The more capable you are, the more work you do, and the more you earn. Our company strictly adheres to labor laws. Double pay for overtime on rest days, triple pay for overtime on holidays, and allowances for regular overtime. As he spoke, Situyu couldn't help but reveal a trace of annoyance. Actually, many times, I need to limit the overtime hours of my employees because they work too hard. Jiang Qianxia saw that he seemed to be anticipating her reaction and teased, are you trying to refute my claim that you're a work machine? Situyu raised his eyebrows slightly, showing a look of restrained indignation. Jiang Qianxia, knock. The sound of knocking on the door interrupted their conversation. President, it's time for the meeting. The two were momentarily stunned, only then realizing how quickly time had passed. The one knocking was Chen Junming, one of the few people around Situyu who was in the know. Situyu cleared his throat, stood up briskly, and said softly to Jiang Qianxia, I'll go to the meeting first. It will end soon. If you need anything, look for Chen Junming. After speaking, he turned back to glance at Chen Junming, Assistant Chen. Chen Junming was almost startled into standing at attention by the boss's suddenly cold tone, but he couldn't help responding loudly, yes. Later, issue some benefits to the employees in Miss Zhang's name. That's it? Chen Junming let out a sigh of relief. Alright, no problem, rest assured. After Situyu went to the meeting, Chen Junming hurried over to Jiang Qianxia and obsequiously asked if she needed anything. Jiang Qianxia shook her head. No. She thought about Situyu's earlier words and understood that it was impossible to spend money in her name. However, offering some ideas was still feasible. What kind of benefits does your president usually give everyone? These days, Chen Junming had come to deeply understand this woman's position in the president's heart and decided to bite the bullet and tell the truth. Bonuses. Jiang Qianxia, truly simple and unpretentious. She shook her head and asked reservedly, do you have any good suggestions? Chen Junming was momentarily stunned. This wasn't because of Jiang Qianxia's beauty. First, he adhered to moral principles for men, and second, this wasn't the first time he'd met her, so he was mentally prepared. Finally, he realized that that she seemed to have changed a lot. In the past, every phone call with her was made with reluctance, let alone meeting in person. Perhaps the nourishment of love has made her more serene? Jin Junming cautiously said, how about afternoon tea? What do you think? Although the company provides it, the saying home flowers lack the fragrance of wildflowers holds true. After hearing this, Jiang Qianxia felt it was somewhat inappropriate. She and Sitiyu were in a contractual relationship and the matter of exchanging shares hadn't been settled yet. Now, buying afternoon tea for the entire company in her name. There's an inexplicable feeling of a wealthy wife declaring her territory. She thought for a moment, how about this? Let's do afternoon tea in the name of your president. Qin Junming was stunned for a moment. May I ask why? Jiang Qianxia glanced at him, and seeing no negative emotions on his face and his loyalty to Sitiyu, she felt reassured and voiced her concerns. You also know the true relationship between me and Sitiyu, so it's not really appropriate for me to deliver the afternoon tea, right? Qin Junming, what true relationship? The kind where the driver told him he had been fed dog food all day while driving? Is it the kind of relationship where even a 5-minute break during the meeting has to be spent together in the lounge? Or the kind of relationship where the entire company, in both big and small groups, is shipping them? And if the president buys everyone afternoon tea, it might not be long before rumors spread that President Yu is taken today, and tomorrow it's about the president's wife expecting twins. However, after all, he is C2Yu's assistant. Seeing Jiang Qianxia's genuine distress, he was silent for a moment, then respectfully nodded. All right, madam. Jiang Qianxia noticed the door wasn't fully closed and quickly shushed him. Assistant Chen immediately understood and swiftly corrected himself. All right, Miss Jiang. After leaving the lounge, Qin Junming revealed a smile of relief after a narrow escape. Luckily, the salary was saved. Jiang Qianxia naturally didn't know that the news of the afternoon tea the next day quickly spread throughout the company and was mistakenly regarded as the president's wedding candy. After finishing the meeting, Sitiyu came out and Assistant Chen quickly stepped forward to report, earning praise as expected. The executives couldn't help but curiously glance towards Sitiyu's lounge. They saw it. During the break in the meeting, President Yu entered the lounge, and when he came out, he was brimming with energy. Jiang Qianxia, with nothing to do, sat cross-legged on Sitiyu's sofa, absorbing spiritual energy. As she absorbed it, she debated whether to bring the set of jewelry with magical properties tomorrow. Sitiyu opened the door, and the sight of her calmly meditating greeted him. Thinking of her abilities, he couldn't help but smile and prepared to gently close the door. However, Jiang Qianxia, whose senses were far sharper than ordinary people, had already noticed his approach and opened her eyes at the right moment. A trace of doubt flashed in her eyes. It seems, I've unconsciously gotten very used to this person's presence. In fact, she could have adjusted her meditative posture when she sensed him approaching to avoid giving him any ideas. However, this person gave her an indescribable sense of security. Rationally, she knew what she should do, but lazily, she didn't feel like moving. The sofa in Sitiyu's lounge was occasionally used to entertain close guests, but he instinctively settled Jiang Qianxia on the side of the sofa where he usually sat. He actually has a bit of a cleanliness obsession, but when he saw Jiang Qianxia sitting on his sofa with her shoes off, he only thought she was adorable. He thought, even if she stepped on it with her shoes, he would just gently wipe it clean and laugh it off. Jiang Qianxia suddenly realized the issue with his cleanliness obsession. She stiffened slightly, quickly put her legs down, and nervously observed Sitiyu's reaction. She was surprised to find that his face seemed to show a hint of joy. In other words, he didn't see it. But Jiang Qianxia is an honest person. She quickly put on her shoes, picked up a wet wipe, and said somewhat awkwardly, I just stepped on your sofa. Do you mind? Should I wipe it? Or replace it with a new one? Thinking of that comfortable leather texture and the refreshing woody fragrance, Jiang Qianxia couldn't help but feel sorry for her wallet. Woo-woo. However, just as she was feeling distressed, her hand was suddenly held by someone. She froze for a moment, then looked up to meet a pair of cold yet intensely fiery eyes. Qianxia, the man said in a deep voice. Jiang Qianxia instinctively tensed up, watching as his thin lips parted slightly, and he said coldly, I mind very much because I have a severe case of mysophobia. Her heart sank instantly, an inexplicable discomfort washing over her. She lowered her head and said, then I. Before she could finish her sentence, a sudden loss of balance made her cry out in fright. Ah, you. Jiang Qianxia sat dumbfounded on the back of the sofa, her foot, which was in the process of putting on a shoe, landing squarely on the sofa she had just been about to compensate for. Just as she was in a daze, the wet tissue in her hand was snatched away. The man's exceptionally precious hands, one holding her delicate ankle, the other gently wiping a speck of dust off the edge with the wet tissue. Her face instantly turned red, followed by a sharp scream. C2U, are you crazy? My shoes can't touch water. In an instant, something shattered all over the place. After shouting, Jiang Qianxia couldn't help but cover her face. Even if I haven't eaten pork, I've at least seen pigs run. My mouth. Sitiyu's hand froze in midair. Moments later, he couldn't help but burst into laughter. He tossed the wet tissue aside, called Assistant Chen, and accurately stated the brand and size of her shoes, instructing him to buy a new pair immediately. How does he even know this? The small face under Jiang Qianxia's palm showed a hint of shock, but one of her feet was still in his hand. This posture made her feel utterly embarrassed. As it turned out, Sitiyu seemed to know her thoughts as if he were a worm in her stomach. This was bought for you by Mrs. Lin today, right? I took a glance and remembered it. Due to the shock, Jiang Qianxia slowly lowered her hand. That's right, you seem to have a photographic memory. In fact, Sitiyu